people. Hi there, party people. Hello, everybody. Sit down, shut up, take off your socks and your pants and your underpants and your shirt and anything else you got. Get naked. It's time for the Rage Select podcast. That's how, John, that's the way this year have to experience the Rage Select podcast is fully nude. It's all nude.
You need to be as aerodynamic as possible.
That's correct.
And clothes just get in the way.
That's correct. I mean, if you have like a Zentai suit, maybe you could just go with that instead.
Yeah.
But
and if you have a really big speaker that our voices are just coming out of,
yeah.
You stand right in front of it,
yeah.
You can experience
it'll be
this
like
podcast the way it was meant to be experienced.
It'll be like we're in the room with you, screaming right into your face. So back when I was a shitty teenager, I rented a house with a bunch of musicians that were all my friends at the time, and we didn't have anything as pedestrian or mundane as like a stereo system. What we did have was a bunch of music nerds that like to make music. So we hooked up like a 5-foot tall Marshall stack amp to the TV as the way of basically. Because, you know, when you're a teenager, you have to listen to everything super loud.
Yeah.
Everything's got to be super loud all the time.
Of course.
So that was what we did, and the neighbors complained constantly.
No.
Constantly. I felt really bad when we were living there because it was we were renting it. We were renting the place, and our poor landlord was the nicest guy. We were a bunch of miscreant fucking yahoos just doing drugs and hanging out and just kind of destroying this house that we were living in. And we would never send him a rent check. And then he would like come around on like the 4th and knock on the door in the middle of the day and be like, "Hey, can I have the rent? Do you have the rent?" And we'd be like, "Oh, right, man. Hold on. Let me just I forgot my check. Can you come back tomorrow at like 2:25, between 2:25 and 2:45? I'll totally have your rent check then."
Yeah, I've never been in a place where you could get away with that.
Yeah.
Like I've had landlords that have been like, "Hey man, something happened. I need some time."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You got 2 days or you're evicted."
Yeah. I think that this might have been the first time that this poor guy had ever actually like rented a property to somebody.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But we were terrible. That place was we didn't pay our bills, so in the middle of the summertime we got our electricity turned off and there wasn't any AC. And in the middle of the wintertime we got our heat turned off and there wasn't any heat.
Jesus.
I remember there was a weekend where like we couldn't get the gas turned back on until Monday, and so we basically just went to the store and bought a bunch of firewood, and then we're huddled around in our living room like a bunch of fucking hobos around a fire in the fireplace with like blankets and sweaters and jackets and stuff to keep warm, just smoking cigarettes and being like, "Man, this sucks." And then I don't know why, but we put like the one guy in charge of paying the bills that was the worst person. He would never do it, but nobody else wanted to do it either. So
Jesus.
Yeah, it was awful. It was like one of those situations where I paid like a little bit more rent because I made a little bit more.
Yeah,
and these were all my friends. And then in return, like some people were in charge of doing stuff like taking out the trash or doing the dishes,
which they never did.
This was. Remember when I was talking to you about
they like did it like the first week, and then after that, like never did.
Oh,
it again.
I don't think they did it the first week.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they did it the first week
because that's also something I've experienced where it's like, "Oh, I'll do the lawn." Okay, cool. They did it like the first week, and then after that, they never did.
Never again. Yeah, you remember when I was telling you the story about my about the friends making a gravity bong?
Oh yeah,
that was in that house too.
Oh,
It was just. So I had my room that I had like with my TV and everything in it, and that was where I hung out. And yeah, we probably shouldn't have been allowed anywhere near that place ever again. It was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
So, but what can you do? You talk about 20-year-olds in the 1990s. We all had too much money and too little responsibility, and God, I wish I could do it again. So,
I'm going to say this. That's a hell of an intro for a podcast.
Well, I didn't. Here's the problem, man.
I don't think we've introduced ourselves yet.
Oh, have we? Not? Hi, I'm Jason Murphy.
Don't lie to people.
Oh, hi, I'm Grant Davis. Sorry, I didn't mean to lie to you people. I'm Jeff.
This is John.
Speaking of Grant Davis, have you been to Grant Davis's YouTube page recently?
No, I know he's posted stuff with his daughter.
He's just making short films with his
yeah.
I watch it. It's so surreal. I'm just
one of them was a recreation of an actual conversation that they had,
Yep.
and then like they decided to make an actual like short film that was written by her.
Yep.
And
yeah.
I haven't watched it yet though. It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty cool. But no, I was gonna say, I mean, like I haven't haven't done anything. Like, it's been a week since our last podcast. The most I did last week was get a new air conditioning installed, and that's not even an interesting story.
No.
They came to my house, they took the old one out, they put a new one in, now my rent's higher.
You really should have had Amanda on the podcast because she got a tattoo and probably could talk your ear off about it.
Yeah, probably so.
I did jack all nothing.
Well, we talked a little bit about that on Indie Friday. Yeah, had an air conditioning installed. I got a real nasty letter from the city telling me that my business license had been revoked, and then I called them, and they were like, okay, it's back again.
Why was your business...
Again, I have the worst stories this week. Like, they're terrible stories. The city of Austin is okay. When you do business in a state, like when you sell a T-shirt, right?
Yeah.
I have to. Anybody who buys a T-shirt when we sold T-shirts in the past in Texas, I have to pay Texas the sales tax because I was doing business in Texas. I'm in Texas, so I have to basically assess the sales tax, send it into them. So year one, I owed them like $100, and year two, I owed them like $20 because we didn't sell jack shit year two, and then last year we didn't sell anything. So they sent me a letter at the beginning of the summertime that was like, you owe us $1,500. This is your estimated tax for this year is $1,500. I'm like, the fuck are you getting this? I had $100 the year before. I've owed you less than $200 the entire time I've been in business. And then, like, okay, so then car, air conditioning, ringworm, air conditioning, car, air conditioning, ringworm. I just forgot about it. And then I missed the letter they sent me like, hey, come to court to tell us why you should not be paying us any taxes. And I missed that. And so then I went to get my mail last week, and it was just like this one-page letter of like, you can't do business in Texas anymore. If you're doing business, you could be incurring fines up to $500 a day. And I was just like, what the fuck? And then I called them, and I was like, I didn't do anything. I didn't make any money. I don't have anything to go. And they were just like, well, you have to tell us that, a-hole, or else we're going to just, we're going to send you letters. Anyway, it's the world's worst story. It's a terrible story.
Well, no, I was entertained by it.
I hope somebody found it entertaining. It's just one of those pain in the balls things of doing business where you're just like, fuck it. See, I called them, and I owed them like $20 late fee filing bullshit, and that was it. And then I was done.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of another story from my wayward youth past that I could use to fill in time here in the intro. Or I don't know, maybe we'll have a podcast that isn't 2.5 hours long. How about that? We think about that.
We'll get talking about something, and we'll get on a tangent. So
probably so. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and just move on because I ain't got to check shit.
Yeah. I mean, literally the only thing I've done outside of go to work, come here and record stuff with you, the only thing that I've done is we recently, for no real reason whatsoever, started watching old episodes of Elvira's movie Macabre. Mm-hmm. Watching those movies because Amanda has a box set that she got from someone as a birthday or Christmas gift or something. So we've been going through random episodes of that.
Okay.
Literally, it's not that exciting.
Okay. I mean, I went back after, I thought it was really funny on last week's podcast where we started out and I was just like, my life is a shambles. Everything is terrible. This is the worst summer of my life. Also, I stopped watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure at episode 7. There was not a single comment on that entire podcast like, oh, I hope you feel better, Jeff. It was just like, no, you got to keep watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And I did. And it got strange enough. It's one of those things that happens all the time, and I'm sure you know this phenomena, where people really love a thing, but then they neglect to tell you, like, they neglect to put a caveat on it when they're recommending it to you.
Yeah.
Like, anytime that I...
well, it's like half the people on the thing were like, skip the first season.
I can't. Well, it's
they're like, just go to 2.
Very
just
difficult.
Go to chapter 2.
Very difficult
with Joe Starr.
It turns out that I stopped. Like, they were like, oh man, after episode 8 it gets really good, and then episode 7 was the last one that I watched before I stopped. So then I sat down and I watched 8 and I watched some of the next series, and it's getting progressively more just crazy. Here, I actually have a screenshot of it that I was thinking of putting online that I don't know. Without the context, I want to get your opinion of this because in the second season, things are really strange. This is just a picture of somebody screaming, "You have to kill me first, wiener heads." And I don't know if there's like some kind of translation problem in the Crunchyroll adaptation they're using, but there's a lot of like wiener heads and poop for brain, like kind of.
No, that's about right.
Okay, that's what it is. But yeah, so I kept watching JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that was all right. I played a bunch of Destiny this week, which is okay if you're into Destiny. I mean, people keep joining my fire team as soon as I'm ready to stop playing, and I feel bad because I know they're probably fans of the show that want to play the game with me, and then it's, I'm getting ready to...
That for some reason or another are still playing the game?
You know what? Here's the thing. I think that Destiny is fine if that's your bag, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were just like, oh man, I wish there was a Halo, but I could just play it all the time, and it had these like things to work towards and rotating goals and different things that got updated because they've been doing lots of updates.
Yeah, no, they have. There's a raid. By the time this is posted, there's a raid that just came out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like Rise of Iron, I played all the way through at least the main story bits. I think it was $30 for Rise of Iron, which I think is a little much. I guess Legion just came out, and that's $30 too, right? Is it?
Probably, yeah.
But it adds a few new things, new areas, some new mechanics, some new different things. I noticed that maybe because of the stuff that I bought previously, that on the PlayStation Network, I could just buy the whole thing for $40 along with a digital copy of Destiny. So that's what I did. But I mean, it still holds up. Bungie knows how to make a good shooty pew pew game. I kind of just wish they would get off their asses and put out Destiny 2 already and address some of this stuff. Also, I already raved about this in part 1 of our Rise of Iron playthrough, but like, I really wish that they would. Yeah, I want to clarify because I got off on this tangent about how there's all this lore in Destiny that they don't ever tell you about, that you have to do that whole like go to Bungie's website and sync your account or whatever the dumb shit it is. Okay, so here's the thing. I got really upset because I was reading a synopsis of what all happened in Destiny to get caught up before we did Rise of Iron, and I found out that there's this whole time travel aspect to it that I just didn't know was in the game because they never really made that explicit, like that the Vex are from the future and they're coming back to try to do something, and I'm just like...
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and it sounds amazing, right? I'm reading this and I'm like, it sounds amazing. So here's the thing. I know that there's going to be people who are fans of Destiny. I'm not even asking necessarily for Destiny to take that information and make a bunch of cutscenes or put it audio logs. I don't even need that. What I want is a codex in the game that I can hit while things are loading or I'm looking for a thing. I can hit the options button, I can pick codex, and I can read the stuff that's on the Bungie website. I don't want to have to leave the game just to find this interesting story.
Yeah.
You paid somebody to write a really good story, and then you've just hidden the fuck out of it, and come on, just show it to me. So
yeah, no, it's really annoying. It's funny because, and I'm going to actually use something about that actually kind of why it's different. It's like, that's a game that I feel like there should be some way to see that lore and stuff in the game. Mm-hmm. It's a story. It's a very story game. Yep. Like the game presents itself as a story that you are playing, and all of the story is on Bungie's website.
Yeah.
A lot of people also are like, well, Overwatch is the same way and people love Overwatch. It's like, no. Overwatch, when you play Overwatch, you are not playing a story. You're playing a match. You are playing a multiplayer match,
sure,
and it presents itself as a multiplayer match. Now, if you want to know the story of Overwatch, yes, there are other videos. I do wish there was a way to access those in the game. I'll admit that. I wish that there was some sort of update that it would just connect to YouTube and play the YouTube video.
Sure.
But there's not, and I understand that, but it's two completely different things. One is a specific type of game, and the other is a completely different type of game.
Oh, I don't think you can compare the two at all. I mean, because whenever you go into, like, whenever you're going, I mean, just having just this afternoon played Destiny, when you go into a mission in Destiny, when it's loading the mission, they have a voiceover where the guy's like, Guardian, we've been having reports of chatter that the Vex have been making an incursion into Sector 27, and in the past there was a reactor that was there, blah, 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 and the whole time they're just yapping their faces off about the things that are happening, but they don't ever explain to you. They act like you already know. That's the problem, is that the game acts like whenever those things happen that you have then gone to the website and read the information, because then they carry on to the next bit of lore as if you know who the Cabal are or why they're doing what they're doing or whatever. And so it just ends up, I feel like, compounding itself into more and more obscurity by assuming that you're continuing to know things when you don't know them and then going on. Fortunately, Rise of Iron has a real basic storyline that they have. It's like Taken King, where they have an intro. It's real easy to understand. They tell you what you're doing and you're going to go do it. But like, I just wish that they would put that stuff in the game. I can't understand why they would take it out of the game when it could just as easily be a codex in the game.
Yeah.
You know? Or tooltips on a loaded screen, like in Dark Souls or something like that, when you're loading, or I don't know. I mean, just there's a million different ways that you could give me that thing inside of the game instead of having me. You could even, I mean, I don't know if you can you just pop open the actual PS4 or Xbox browser to look at it from in the game if it's just a single hotkey? Even if you just did that, even if you had a rudimentary browser built into it that like just brought that stuff up, because I don't want to have to stop and open up another web page. So, but, well, you know what? Enough yakking. We got a lot to get through today. Before we get to the games, though, everybody's favorite garbage fire, Ghost in the Shell, has decided to, on an entirely different way. Okay, so trailers are over, John. This is 2016, and we don't like trailers anymore. We're
Apparently.
like 10-second promo spots, apparently. Yeah.
Also, I don't think there's enough of the movie done
to have
for
more.
them to show more than this.
Because there's these 5 little 10-second promo shots, and I don't know, they look all right. They don't really tell you anything.
Yeah.
There is one thing that's a little that has got my hackles raised a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's in like the third one. There's one where the Scarlett Johansson, the major, is like touching this woman's face, and she's like, "What are you?" And I'm like, wait. In the Ghost in the Shell world, everybody knows about cyborgs and the artificial bodies and stuff like that. This is a weird new thing. So I'm wondering if they're going to be doing this as an origin.
Don't know.
Which would be kind of weird because that doesn't really seem like it fits into. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it could just be that I'm too wrapped up in old school Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I like it better when we just assume all this tech already exists and then we're just telling stories inside of that world instead of making it an origin story. See what last week's bitching about origin stories.
Yeah. And I will say, the clips are the little 5-second clips. They're whatever. I did think it was interesting. Like, you can actually find it. There's apparently a fan made edit where someone just took all 5 clips and then didn't change anything, didn't edit anything with them.
Yeah.
Just put like music from Ghost in the Shell over it and then edit it into a trailer.
Yeah.
And it actually is really effective as like a teaser trailer. Yeah. Like all of them, like,
just in a row as they come.
Yeah, and it's like it starts off with one, then it goes to a black screen. It's like from the visionary mind of the creator of Ghost in the Shell, and then and then like it shows another clip, and this was from the director of from director blah blah blah.
Yeah,
so and so, and then it's like blah blah in 2017 or 20 whatever.
So they just put those between each.
Yeah, and then and it ends with the woman. The thing looking at her going, "What are you?"
Yeah.
And then it just goes Ghost in the Shell, kind of. But there's no voiceover outside of that one line of dialogue. It's just music. And it's actually really effective. Like, it's actually like, oh, that's actually a decent teaser. And it's like, but for some reason, all of these like separated as just by themselves. It's kind of like, what the fuck are you doing?
Maybe they're just trying to get more hits on YouTube. Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I'm still of the opinion that I'm almost 100% positive that even if it's a good movie, that they're probably the people involved with this they're probably going to get it wrong. It's probably going to be. It may be fine as a movie, but I just don't think. I don't even know if Ghost in the Shell as a franchise holds up now as opposed to when it was originally put out. Considering there's so many other things out there with kind of man machine.
I think it still holds up.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in anything.
I have
Hollywood
no faith in
days.
it either. But I'm willing to give it a chance.
Yeah. I'd rather be pleasantly surprised.
Like I went and saw the newer Fantastic Four movie in theaters. It was not the garbage fire I was expecting, but it was still a different kind of garbage fire.
Oh, it was the most tepid, non-raging garbage fire.
Yeah.
It was so boring.
It was just mediocre.
It just smells bad, and it doesn't really give you that much heat.
Yeah.
I'm like, come
on. I mean, like I'm willing to go. Watch a movie that's based on a property that I like that could potentially suck. I'm I'm pretty sure I've probably watched movies that are worse than whatever this is going to be. So,
probably. Almost certainly.
I'll go see it when it comes out, and I'll make my judgments then. And if it's good, hey, it's good. I can enjoy it. If it's, we could be getting a thing along the lines of V for Vendetta, where by itself, on its own, it's a decent movie. It's actually a good movie. If you compare it to the actual source material, it's a fucking pile of shit. Mm-hmm. But it's still a decently enjoyable movie on its own.
I'm trying to think
if you look at it as a movie without going, well, it's based on this book. No. If you just look at it as a movie and watch it, it's enjoyable. If you then go, okay, now let's compare it to the source material, it's like, oh no, it's not good.
I don't think that I'm physically able to consider V for Vendetta outside of the source material.
See, I don't know why. Well, let me rephrase that. I know why. I've been burned by adaptations enough.
Yeah.
That I've actually developed a thing where I can go, all right, well, it was good. Not as good as the source material, but it was good. Or, oh no, that was just a pile of garbage. Like there's nothing good about that. Like even, I can review something on its own merit. I feel like I can. So, I
mean, I don't even know. Like if somebody went to go see Watchmen outside of reading Watchmen, like the problem that I have is I think it's like the deeply embedded fanboy part of my brain that's like, it makes more sense as the giant fabricated alien invasion from the comics than it does as Dr. Manhattan's energy. Dr. Manhattan has gone rogue and is destroying things.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't that make the entire world be mad at America? Because Dr. Manhattan is an American agent, even if they say, well, he wasn't working, he was working by himself. And they'd be, Russia is going to be like, oh, we so believe you. He blew up one of our cities. I mean, I don't know if it's possible, if you've never read the comic, to watch that movie and for that to make sense. But it doesn't make any sense to me, and I hate the fact that they changed it because they got just about everything else right, except they didn't make Night Owl fat enough. He needed to be fatter. He needed to be a fat
Well,
man.
They wanted someone who was a pretty boy.
Yeah. But they could have made him. He could have been fat. They could have put a meatloaf fat belly on him.
Yeah. But I mean, I will say, as far as Watchmen is concerned, that's probably the best adaptation we were going to get.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I agree with you. Even on its own, by its own, I don't think it's a great movie. The first 30 minutes of that movie are fucking amazing.
Sure.
But as a movie, I don't I think upon each rewatch of it, it gets less and less. Mm-hmm. Which I found that to be with all of Zack Snyder's movies. Every time I rewatch one of his movies, I like it less. Like even his movies that I really like I'm like, man, this movie's fucking great.
Yeah.
I'll watch it again, and every time I rewatch it, I'm like, man, this movie's not as good as I remember. Like, and it could be like 3 weeks later, and I'll be like, man, this movie's not as good as I remember.
Yeah.
What's going on? I just saw this movie 3 weeks ago. Now I'm watching it again.
It's junk food, man. It's like, it's just like eating a bunch of candy all in a row. Like, it starts out good, and then you're just like, ah.
Yeah, but yeah, so this could be good. It could be garbage fire. I don't know yet. I can't tell with these little clips. I need to see more. Look, I mean, there's some cool imagery.
Yeah. I mean,
there's definitely some cool imagery.
It's definitely got a lot of style. I can't say anything about the substance.
I will say there was like a while back. There was like a leak of like photos of all the actors in costume, and some of them looked a little like I don't know about that. Uh-huh. Especially the ones with like the prosthetic, like the robotic eyes or whatever.
Like Bateau?
Not Bateau, but like some of the other characters.
Oh, okay.
That in animation it makes sense the way their eyes are, but when you put it in real life, it's like
yeah,
like that just looks stupid.
Dude, John, that's just the way Asians' eyes look, man. You can't.
No. Like one of the guys looks like he just has like someone cut ping pong balls and then put them on over his eyes.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I forget what that character's name is.
Yeah,
it's not. But it's yeah.
But it's like just when you see him on a person in real life, it just looks stupid.
Yeah.
So that's more of the stuff I want to see in a trailer.
Yeah.
Because that's the stuff I'm worried about. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, what I'm seeing, it looks like a movie. It looks like it could be an interesting movie.
It could go either way.
It could go either way.
Really go either way.
I don't care about Scarlett Johansson being cast as what's her name. At
this point, it's one of those things where it's like,
it happened. I have no, we can't change it now.
Yeah, nobody asked me. I would rather probably they had the photoshops of the lady from Pacific Rim. I would rather have seen her in there. There's not really a whole lot that I can do at this point, right?
Yeah.
The only thing I can do, the only thing you could really do is not But man, this is one of those things that puts you in such a weird position, right? Or if you're a big fan of Ghost in the Shell, it's like you want to go see it and support it, but you don't want to support it because you don't agree with this decision. And anyway. But you know what? Enough about this garbage fire. We have a whole other garbage fire to talk about.
Oh, I know what we're talking about.
Oh, we have so many garbage fires this week. We've got a lot of garbage, and it's all on fire. And the first garbage fire is, oh man, Digital Homicide. Have you followed the Digital Homicide?
A little bit. I know. I've read the news article that you were presenting in front of me. Mm-hmm. I know about this.
Oh boy! So for those of you who don't know, Digital Homicide is a developer on Steam that makes
garbage fire games,
terrible games. A lot of it is just hashing together assets. What they call a lot of this comes from Jim Sterling and the Jimquisition, because Jim Sterling Jim Sterling made a video where he was making fun of one of their games, and then the developers started going after him, which is never a good idea. I think you're going after somebody with a big bunch of YouTube fans who are going to just go and shit on your game on Steam. And that ended up being this whole thing where this guy... who are these, the Romaine brothers or whatever, who are the people who run this thing, like they just wouldn't stop. Like I don't know if there was somebody out there that was telling them you need to just stop, but they just kept on kind of going at him to the point where first the name of their the Digital Homicide got so toxic that they started setting up multiple other shell companies, because you just type in whatever you want to on Steam Greenlight, right? And putting out game after game after game. A lot of them were Unity asset flips, where if you don't know what that is, it's basically you just go buy a bunch of assets from the Unity store and put them all together, and then just copy paste some of the embedded code for a third person action game, and then you just slap that together, put it out, boom, you got a game, right?
Yeah.
You buy your assets for a couple $100, you flip it, you sell it for $10, you see if you can make back what you've got. Anyway, so these guys have been back and forth all over the place for a long time. But last week, they decided, they decided to bring an $18 million lawsuit against people on Steam who were being critical. I believe it was actually a Steam group.
Yes, it was actually a group that is...
It was like dedicated to shitting on them.
And dedicated to basically pointing out how bad their games are, also pointing out where all their shell companies are, like which shell companies are, which companies that are actually them, that and basically it's a group that's dedicated to basically talking about how much garbage this company is.
Yep. And so they decided to bring this lawsuit against, I think it was like 100 people or something in this Steam group. And then they subpoenaed Steam for the people's real names to try to bring them to court for, it was like harassment? Is that what they're doing?
They're claiming it's harassment.
Personal injury and criticism. And it's funny because I actually listened to an extended Quotey Fingers interview between Jim Sterling and this guy, which you can find on YouTube. It's 90 minutes of just cringe-inducing stuff. This guy honestly believes that if you call his bad game bad, that you are ruining his business and you're a bad person and you should not be allowed to do that. That if you call his bad game bad, that's an assault against the company's reputation, and that is causing them to be perceived in a negative light, which there's some questions about that, which we talked about a little bit last week with Steam kind of revamping their user rating system. Which I don't know if you saw. I was actually looking at
They revamped it again.
Where you can choose now. Like, by default, it shows you the rating that is, like, purchased on Steam, but you can also choose all. So if you want to basically change that layout on Steam, you can.
And also the most helpful reviews. Previously, the only most helpful reviews that would show up would be the purchased on Steam.
Yeah.
Now they actually, for those specifically, they actually allow all reviews to...
okay.
So even if you didn't purchase it through Steam and left a most helpful review that is considered helpful, it'll now show up.
Yep. Anyway, in a wonderful move, Valve then delisted all of their games and basically booted them off Steam. So.
Yeah, basically said that it was abuse, that they were like, no, they're harassing us.
Yep.
And apparently, from what I heard, one of the Romaine brothers said that they were going to file a lawsuit against Valve for doing this.
I would be willing to bet that if you read the terms of and conditions of what you agree to when you decide to work in the Steam Greenlight section, that it probably protects the shit out of Valve. Also, let's just be real clear here. Valve can keep a lawsuit going until the Romaine brothers are dead in the ground.
Yeah.
Valve has more money. Like, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking with this. Like, it's one thing to bring the lawsuit against critics on the internet, right? That's stupid. But when you start trying to bully the service, and Valve is by no means required to list your games on their service.
Yeah.
Then what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? Like, it's such a stupid move. Because yeah, of course they're going to delist you and then just be like, well, then get the fuck out of here. Like, go, leave, shoo, bye. We don't have to put your games on our service. Good luck trying to sell your garbage in a Humble bundle. Humble probably won't even deal with them. So I figure that this might not be the last that we hear of these yahoos.
Yeah.
But it certainly is nice to... There's a certain amount of schadenfreude involved with this story.
If I'm not mistaken, I'm kind of trying to read it here. It says that the Valve's official response was the reason that they removed their games was because they wanted to stop doing business with Digital Homicide for being hostile towards Steam customers.
Sure.
So...
Yeah. Yeah. Steam is the middleman. Yep. No, it totally makes sense to me. It would be one thing if Steam did this a lot, but this seems like I don't see them doing this more than, when somebody does something completely and totally idiotic like this.
Yeah.
So, well, speaking of completely and totally idiotic, let's talk a little bit about Metal Gear Survive, John.
All right, I guess. Sure, why not? It's a thing.
So from TGS, we got 15 minutes of Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah, sure.
When they had that first trailer, I'm very much like, yeah, well, this is going to be terrible, right? This is Konami. Konami is pretty bad. They've got a bad track record of doing terrible things with the licenses. Boy, I just couldn't imagine how this could be more boring looking. It's just Metal Gear Solid. It's just Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of it is the same. I mean, it's almost exactly the same map assets. It looks like very similar soldier assets.
Yeah.
In fact, this area that they're going to in this demo, I believe, is one of the first missions in Metal Gear Solid 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks real bad. It just looks real. I mean, it doesn't look like quality super terrible, but it just looks like it looks such a generic. Bleh. It doesn't seem to have anything to do with Metal Gear. First off,
yeah, no, it doesn't.
But it also just
it's Metal Gear in name only.
But even if you take away all the fanboyism, which you don't have any, so you can assess this more. But like, if you just saw a trailer for this and it didn't have a name, if it was called Desert Zombie Panic 101 or something like that, like, it just looks bad. It looks boring from that perspective too. Like, it looks like just another fucking zombie survival holdout game. Where the characters are, they're trying to secure a position. It's a 4-player online co-op, and they're using resources they pick up in the field to build fences and barricades and.
So what is that term for in Metal Gear when you strap an air balloon on something and it rises?
Fulton.
The Fulton. Mm-hmm. When you I'm just watching this trailer here and it's like they Fulton the zombies or whatever, and nothing attaches to them. They just rise up into the air and go into a void. And that just looks stupid.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now, that's in Metal Gear Solid 5. That's the last development of the Fulton technology is Fulton through a wormhole.
Oh, okay.
But
it looks stupid.
Yeah, let's be clear here. It was kind of stupid when it was in Metal Gear as well. But yeah, I don't know if this was $20, maybe. I mean, maybe I'd try it out. If it was free to play, it was free to play. If it was free to play with microtransactions for cosmetics and stuff like that, I might be interested in just taking a quick look at it. But it doesn't seem to have anything to do with Metal Gear. It doesn't look especially interesting or fun. It's just the characters all come to this area. They're picking up resources. They're turning on a transmitter, and then it's just these hordes of the no-head zombie corns come out. and attack, and they have to just defend until for a certain amount of time. And what's more is they fail in this TGS demo. I don't know if you watched the whole thing.
No. I didn't actually watch any of it.
They get overrun and they have to leave the area, and it's just like, oh, good, great. Is there a story here? If there's a story, what the fuck is it?
Well, I kind of know what the setup for the story is.
Was they get pulled into this world that's all crazy? And
yeah,
gotta,
it's an alternate dimension, and it's it's all these characters that were thought to be dead from whatever, not Phantom Pain, but Ground Zeroes, and they're in an alternate dimension and they're fighting zombies. That's literally all they've said.
It's just I don't know. It looks real dull.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're interested in this, just maybe let me know in the comments like what you think. I don't know. It just doesn't. None of what it's doing strikes any kind of nerve with me. And I'm trying to be, because I'm not 100 million degrees in love with Metal Gear Solid 5. But this just seems like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Boring.
I just feel like someone at Konami is like, well, we gave them something that's not another pachinko machine, and they're all still upset. I don't get it. What do these people want from us?
Oh, Konami, you're the worst. The sad thing about it is that somebody obviously did work on this.
No, people worked on this.
And people are obviously still working on it, and it's just it doesn't seem doesn't seem interesting. So I don't know how many different ways I can say it doesn't seem interesting, but I think I've said them all. I tell you what, Hideo Kojima himself probably said it best when they were asked him about, he watched it and he said, that has nothing to do with me. And he said, the Metal Gear games are about political fiction and espionage. Where do zombies fit in that? Which is
nowhere.
That's legit. And then Yoji Shinkawa, the former character and mechanical designer of Metal Gear, said, if I had worked on that game, it would have mechs in it. And I'm just yeah! This is what a Japanese sick burn is, I guess. But yeah, it looks real stupid. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of other trailers for it, and I'm sure that I'll end up playing it if at Rage Select, just to be like, look at this garbage. It's a pile of poop. But
there
it just
you go.
Doesn't look very fun.
No, it doesn't.
Well, speaking of Kojima, there are a few more details about Death Stranding that we saw. One was a tweet from Hideo Kojima saying Death Stranding's casting is still underway. Will there be a heroine? Who should play her? So there's some question about whether the main character is going to be a lady or whether you're going to be able to pick between a dude and a lady. Also, there's another one of his tweets where he says, Death Stranding will feature a new form of co-op play, but will, of course, be fully playable in single player. And I don't know what that means, but I'm hoping that it's something crazy and bizarre and non-zombie.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't seem like this game's going to have anything to do with zombies.
I sure hope not.
Because Kojima doesn't seem like he has any interest in zombies.
The funny thing is that there were kind of zombies in Metal Gear Solid 5 where there was this weird disease or something that would turn the people into kind of shambling.
Okay.
But it wasn't actually zombies. So, but yeah, Death Stranding. Oof, can't wait. Cannot wait even a little bit. And
too bad, you'll have to.
Yeah, unfortunately.
2019.
Before 2019. So probably not next year, but the year after. It's good though. I'd rather know that now than have them say, no, it's coming out in July of 2017, and then be like,
oh God, no. If Kojima said it'll be out in July of 2017, I'll be like, you're full of shit. I know you, and I know the way you make. No, there's no fucking way.
Oh, I'm surprised that they announced this in 2016 and it's going to be out before 2019.
Yeah.
I firmly expected this game.
That's why I read it wrong. It's because I was like, okay, I could see, Kojima in 2019, that seems right.
I've done this dance before with Metal Gear. I know about waiting for 5 years for a Hideo Kojima game. And you know what? Perfectly willing to wait for 5 years for a Hideo Kojima game. I'm perfectly willing to wait and get the thing that's supposed to that he is making. Still, I kind of wish it was
Norman
that right
Reedus game.
Yes. I also like there's this weird thing. I think he said it before about like, this is going to be a different side of Norman Reedus than fans of The Walking Dead might expect. And I'm just like,
specifically nude.
What does that mean? Just no pants?
Yeah, he's been fully clothed in all of Walking Dead.
Okay, and now he's naked with a bunch of
now he's
wires
completely nude. Yeah,
okay,
has wires coming out of him and handcuffs on him.
Yeah,
and has a baby that he cries and like.
Yeah, disappearing baby.
Yeah.
His disappearing baby trick.
Yeah.
I'm Norman Reedus. I'll show you my disappearing baby trick.
Yeah.
Hold on, I got to take my clothes off first. Oh, man. That's an episode of The Walking Dead that I would watch.
God, Catch a Predator written all over it.
All right. Well, next we got some more trailers. I'm not sure. I think that we're done with TGS now, right?
Yeah, it ended this last weekend. Yeah.
Okay. I don't think this is from TGS, but we had a real big Dark Souls 3 Ashes of Ariandel trailer that actually showed a few things. I like the fact that the video comes with a warning at the beginning saying that there might be spoilers about this, even though I don't really recognize anything.
Well, it's all new.
Here.
It's all new. This is all new area.
So, yeah, I know that, but I'm just kind of curious to know what could they be spoiling. I guess the fact that you'll be seeing things from the game and won't be going in totally cold.
Yeah. Yeah, I surprisingly, I know things about this.
Oh, yeah?
About this DLC. Yeah.
Do ya?
Yeah.
What do you know? I don't know
anything. That it takes place in.
Oh wait, spoiler! Hold on, spoiler alert for podcast.
Yeah, do you really want to know?
I think I might want to know, but I don't think I want to talk about it on the air.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what? Let's hold off on that. It's funny. This trailer is actually really disappointing to me.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. One of the things that really disappointed me about Dark Souls 3 was the knights that they put into Dark Souls 3 in all the different places that were like very fast, very strong, very quick, and had these very difficult to block and hard to get around for like a backstab type of attack patterns. And so in the beginning of this, we've got a character out in this admittedly very lovely kind of open snowy forest area.
Yeah.
But the characters that he's fighting look an awful lot like the knights that I'm talking about from Dark Souls 3, that I'm just not a big fan of them because they're kind of irritating to fight. And so we see the character that's playing this, we see them beat up on a few of them. Later on we see an even bigger, I think we saw this guy one of these guys in the trailer, like very Norse looking giant axe and a helmet with some antlers on it. And again, this seems to be kind of like the same as what I was talking about before about fighting an enemy in Dark Souls 3 that's just like way bigger, way stronger, and doesn't really present any real opening spot for you to start hitting them.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that really irritates me about, because there's these knights in the very first level of Dark Souls 3 that, like, if you try to get behind them, they have a back attack that can hit you really quickly. They turn. When they're attacking, their attack locks onto you so hard that it's incredibly difficult to get out of the way of it and then still have a chance to attack them in return, to counterattack.
Yeah.
All of the actual characterization and the area and all of the iconography, around it, that all looks really cool.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know if I want to. I'm going to play it, obviously, but I'm just not super jazzed about playing through an area that's fully populated by a lot of these monsters. I do like there's this one part with these big flyman monsters.
Yeah.
They are creepy as shit.
I don't know why, but this little section with the fly monsters kind of reminds me of Bloodborne.
Oh, no, totally. I think it's because the ground looks an awful lot like the DLC Blood River.
Yeah.
We also have it's kind of like a frozen glade with and this is another thing that I don't necessarily really like about this is that, okay, so in Dark Souls 1 there's a giant wolf boss.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this, right? Dark Souls 2 had the giant rat boss where when we were playing through Dark Souls 2, it was just like when the giant rat starts limping and trying to get away from you, it's really not as emotionally affecting as when the dog is trying to get away from you. Yeah. Well, here we go. We got a big dog in here. Like a big wolf.
Well, what I actually like, and this is actually something that's not, it's, this might be,
just go for it, man. Just go for it.
And this is something that's talked about, is that guy that you see in the trailer fighting, that you actually can like interact with him without interacting with the wolf. Like he's specifically trying to protect the wolf from you.
Okay.
So like he's like stepping in front of you like, no, you're not attacking this wolf, I'm protecting him. So you kind of have to fight him. And then once you fight him, the wolf is like, no, I'm actually way more powerful than that guy.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting because it's kind of like a double boss kind of thing.
I guess it's just the problem that it comes back to, and the reason that my enthusiasm for this whole thing is tamped down a little bit is that Dark Souls had a big wolf fight. Dark Souls 3 has so many callbacks to Dark Souls 1.
Yeah, it does.
That seeing another giant wolf, I'm just like if you were going to do that, a giant cat, a giant goat, a giant fly man, a giant spider. Well, we had a giant spider in 2, but there's so many things that we could have put in here. And if this is probably a reference to Sif and maybe even the Lords of Farron, because they're the ones who worship Sif in Dark Souls 3.
Yeah,
but it's kind of like Dark Souls 2. One of the DLCs was an entire ice area. We've got an ice area. You know, it's an open forest area. We've seen that in Dark Souls 1. We've seen that in Bloodborne. Okay. Here's a giant wolf. Like, so much of it is reminiscent of things that I've already seen. And I know that at this point it's hard because I think the only biome that Dark Souls hasn't dealt with is sand, is a desert. But there's just so much of this trailer that's reminiscent. In fact, we'll get up here in a second. After they show this wolf, the thing that they show after this is an introduction of what looks like a boss fight with a woman saying, I was kind of trying to listen, but it became clear that it wasn't going to make any sense since I hadn't played it. But this woman with a giant scythe that kind of looks like Gehrman from Bloodborne's giant scythe. And when they cut to the fight, it looks an awful lot like when you fight Lady Maria in the DLC for Bloodborne. You know, it's this kind of single combat, this woman with this like long reach, kind of jumping in and doing these big kind of spinning, swooping attacks. Like, it reminds me an awful lot of the Maria fight. Now, there also seems to be a second part to this with this giant, with the big lava cauldron that we've seen before. But I don't know. I guess just in general, I'm just not getting as much out of this as I would like.
I will say most of the stuff that I've been reading, because apparently there was a big like press roundtable interview with Miyazaki about, you know, From Software, and mostly about Dark Souls 3. And, you know, he talked about the fact that there is going to be there is a Armored Core that they are working on that is so early in development that they can't really give any details other than to say they are working on a new Armored Core game.
Yeah. I hope that this is the one. I've been trying to get an Armored Core for a decade. I just can't.
Yeah, but you know, people ask, like, is this real? Like, are these 2 DLC that are being?
I believe it's 2.
Yeah, it's 2.
The season pass.
They said, are these 2 really the last we'll see of Dark Souls? And his reaction was, for me, yes. I will not be making another Dark Souls game. However, if someone somewhere down the line, someone comes up and says, hey, I've got a really cool idea for a Dark Souls game that I would like to make.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not going to rule that out. If someone else wants to make a Dark Souls game, cool.
John, we need to stop this podcast. We get a piece of paper. I've got a really cool idea for a Dark Souls game. It needs to get made. It's called None of This Shit is Related to Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3, the game. Dark Souls 4, Havel and Solaire and all of your favorites are not in this game, so just fuck off. There's not even a dragon in here. We're going to call it Demon Souls. It's going to be set in a desert. It's going to have a Camaro.
But, you know, he did state that he's like he does. However, he said that, you know, having said that, as far as games that he's going to make, that's not to say he won't make like a fantasy setting game or, you know, something like that, and take elements from Dark Souls and put it into a new IP.
Sure.
He's like he's like, I can guarantee you that's going to happen.
Oh, I was actually looking up some stuff with an interview of him where he recently said that he thinks that that they should get back into kind of the high fantasy Japanese stuff, a la Otogi. Yeah, that he'd like to make another one of those.
Yeah. But yeah, he just said that, you know, he doesn't want the entirety of the company to be focused on Dark Souls. Good. You know, he doesn't want that to be the only game their company is putting out. So he wants to see other games made, other genres made, maybe games that maybe take some of the elements of Dark Souls and put it in a different place.
Great. I'm all in favor of that.
I even like that at one point one of the interviewers asked him like what he thought of people who are making Dark Souls like games that are basically
Salt and Sanctuary.
Yeah,
some of the ones that are getting ready to
what
come
was
out.
that? Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah.
And his reaction was like, you know what? I never really thought about it. I honestly haven't played any of those games. I didn't even know that there were games out there like that. But that's cool. You know what? I now that I know, I want to check out some of those games and see what did they do differently. How did they interpret what we did and do different? What does it look like? From a different perspective. Like, what did they change? What works? What he's like? I think that's great. I think that if companies want to do that, that's great. He's like, people are saying that people have been coming up to me lately and saying that Dark Souls is now like its own genre of game. And he's like, you know what? I don't think it's its own genre. He's like, I think those games were around before I did one. He's like, I did one though, and it got popular.
Yeah.
And if that means other people can now get those games to be just as popular or get more noticed, I'm all for that. Yeah. I love the fact that people can do that. I love the fact that other companies are making games like that. I think it's great. It does nothing but good things for the industry.
Okay.
So cool. He's totally loves the fact that people make games that are similar or are inspired by his games.
I think that's great. And I really like the fact that I really hope this is the end of Dark Souls, because I honestly feel like one of the biggest problems that I've seen going back to Kojima is watching Kojima be locked for 25 years into making Metal Gear games, more than that, into making Metal Gear games. And it's like, yeah, man, just go do something else. Do whatever you want to. Because Bloodborne was, in my opinion, probably my second favorite outside of the original Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And that was a whole brand new thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep it moving. Forza Horizon 3 is coming out next week.
Yeah. I actually got like a message from Xbox basically giving me the Warthog. Like I got an unlock code for it.
Oh yeah.
I just received a message like, here, thank you for being a fan of Halo and of Xbox, and here's a download code to download the Warthog and Forza Horizon 3.
I actually like the Horizon series a lot more than base Forza because it's all about kind of like spectacle in this big open world and stuff like that. So I'm we're going to play Forza Horizon 3. I've never been the biggest Forza fan in the world, but if you're going to play one, especially, remember their E3 demonstration where they had like kind of off-road stuff?
Yeah.
And like they really were trying to kind of jazz it up a little bit, make it more...
Well, I have actually heard that this is actually the best Forza Horizon game, and it may actually be the best Forza game.
Oh, really?
Like or at least the most fun Forza game to play. I've seen early reviews from people who are like, I don't like Forza. I'm not that. I mean, it's a great game, but I'm not into it.
Yeah.
Forza Horizon 3 is the best racing game I've ever played.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
I was actually thinking about it earlier today, and I was thinking about, like, I was watching this, and I'm like, it's a very beautiful trailer. It's a lot of cars driving around. And I was trying to think, what would be the thing that would make me more interested in Forza? Because I don't generally go for regular racing games, but I do like Burnout an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, like, the one thing that Forza has in its cap is the rewind mechanic. And if you had a mode that was all about kind of like string together like death-defying stunts where you could, if you mess it up, you could rewind, and you could, like, there's a part in this trailer where the car goes right in front of a train that's oncoming, right? Like, you can do that, and then if you wanted to rewind it to get that just right and then string that together into a whole kind of like little like highlight package of like my death-defying stunts, I think that would be really cool. But even so, I mean, Forza's always been a really, really pretty franchise. This one looks like it's doing Australia. It looks like they got nice city, Outback, everything in between. I'm totally psyched to play this.
Yeah. I want to play it myself.
Get the further adventures of Thomas Forza. Next up on the trailer parade, we got the Gears of War 4 launch trailer.
Yep.
Okay. I have so basically this is just a recap of Gears. They're like, oh yeah, we won the fight, and then some monsters came,
they basically, he starts it off with Gears 3, we won the fight, and then it's kind of telling you what little bit happened in between.
Yeah.
But I also feel like there's a huge spoiler in this trailer.
Yes, there is.
Like, there is a huge, huge spoiler. Like, it's a spoiler that I kind of expected.
Yep.
But I would have liked to have just experienced it and not seen it in the trailer.
Yep.
So there's a part of me that's kind of hoping that it's a fake out.
Yep.
Like what we're seeing in the trailer happens, but it's not actually what happens.
Yep. So I had a couple of issues with this particular trailer.
Yeah.
The first one is that there's a scene where Marcus Phoenix is like, oh man, I saved all the old armor from back in the old days, and he opens this door and there's this shot of like big armor, cyber bra, and I don't know. I mean, I do know. But why can't the ladies just wear the same shit as what the dudes have? Or why couldn't the lady one be just a little bit bigger in the chest area? I mean, the dudes ones have plenty of boob.
Well, it's because they also have smaller frames. Like, if you actually look at the women compared to the men in this world, like, the men are all giant, beefy monstrosities, whereas the women are very skinny, very tiny.
It could have been, but so why couldn't it just been a smaller version of what we see there?
I mean, I get what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying? It's just, it looks kind of silly because it's like all of the dude armor is like it's covering their entire
what I do like,
torso.
I will also
shoulders.
say that I like, if you look, all the boots are the same size.
Oh.
Even the one under the female one.
Yeah, and then the lady one is just like, it looks like a bra. It looks like a cyber bra. And I'm just like, what about her shoulders? Like, the rest of them have built-in shoulder protection and built-in, like, you know, all around the collarbone area, and hers is just like a cyber bra. And I'm like, all right. I mean, you know, I'm sure that was the way that it was in the previous Gears games. I never mentioned it before, but, you know, it just kind of struck me. We're going to save that spoiler for the very end of this, ladies and germs.
No, I'm not going to even mention the spoiler what it is, because they can watch it themselves if they want. But.
Yeah. But so all the kids are getting souped up and they're getting ready to go out. Okay. So the dose that I did not care for in this trailer. I have gotten to the point as a 40-year-old man where I can just say, fuck Metallica. I fucking hate Metallica. Oh. And having the soulful rendition of Nothing Else Matters.
The trend is soulful renditions of every song ever.
And I've been consistently bitching about it since they started. I'm not about to stop now.
Having also said that, Gears of War is the originator of soulful in renditions of popular songs.
Yep.
They are that if any franchise is allowed to still do it, it's Gears, because they did it first. Even before movies and commercials started doing it as hardcore as they were, Gears was the first.
Absolutely. I fully put the blame on Gears of War for starting this dumb fucking trend. Because you know what? Pick a look, half of it is that I don't like that in trailers. The other half of it is that I fucking hate Metallica now. Like, I was a big fan of Metallica when I was a kid. I watched them turn into the world's most gigantic douche farms in the 2000s. So it's like, just also eat a dick, Metallica. And I'm sorry, you Metallica fan out there. I'm not telling you to eat a dick. I'm really not. I saw Metallica in concert like 3 times. I had all the tapes and everything. But when they started suing Napster and all that bullshit, and then they put out Load, that was the perfect time. That should have been a symbol. You just stop fucking listening to Metallica. Go listen to Pantera, Slayer, something else.
Funny thing. I don't hate Metallica as much as you do.
Yes.
I hated them pretty bad during the time period that you're talking about where they were suing Metallica or suing Napster and everything.
Yeah.
I actually really like Reload. Load, I think, is okay. Mm-hmm. It's not. I actually like a lot of songs on Load.
Yeah.
But I prefer Reload as an album between the two of them.
Yeah.
Like, I actually really like Reload. Is it either of those as good as their stuff that were prior to that? Fuck no.
Yeah.
Their stuff prior to that was all fucking gold. This is maybe like Reload is maybe like silver, and Load is below that, bronze. I don't know.
I'm like, kill them all, ride the lightning, and then just fucking forget about everything else.
But and everything after Reload, I'm not been a fan. Death Magnetic, not a fan. Was it Some Kind of Monster? Was that the other?
Dude, I don't know the name of anything that came out.
Or maybe that was the documentary.
I listened to other music. I was just like,
I have not like. I actually went and saw the Through the Never in theaters. I actually really liked that movie. I actually really liked it, and the thing that actually made me kind of get back to Metallica is I actually played Guitar Hero Metallica and went, oh yeah, I really like their music, like their older stuff. Like, you know what? I fucking hate their new stuff, and I will never buy anything from their newer albums.
Sure.
Like even on like a Rock Band or Guitar Hero or anything like that. But yeah, I like their older stuff. I'll stick with the stuff I like, you know. But yeah, so I don't hate them as much as you do.
Also, there's robot guys apparently.
Yeah,
or something.
robot guys and
robot
mechs
guys.
and
oh yeah, there's like the giant mechs at the end that also carry their guns the exact same way that the protagonists carry their guns. There's a motorcycle.
Well, it's because they're inside the mechs.
Yeah, I know.
That's why they carry the guns the same way that they do.
Then there's
fucking damn it.
Also, I thought that I briefly spied the coal train.
Yeah, you did.
Just very briefly.
Very briefly. It was a very brief little thing.
Just going woo.
Yeah.
Just doing a woo over there. There he is. That was him,
Yeah,
right?
that was Coltrane. That is Coltrane.
Looks like him. All right. Well, I'm happy that the Coltrane is back.
Yeah, even if briefly.
Because my favorite part of all of the Gears of War, the entire franchise, is that 1 and 3 where he has that weird flashback to play in Blitzball or whatever the fuck he used to play. And he just starts freaking out. He's like imagining that he's back in the stadium, and it's just, and then it's like, and then he just snaps out of it, and nobody ever mentions it again. It's like, all right,
no, it's. Coltrane is probably like my favorite quotes from all of the games are all from him.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's like a thing with DLC where you can get like zombie Dom, old Marcus, and Tamara Anya as exclusive character skins and characters and weapons for the multiplayer.
Oh, good. Zombie Dom, just what I needed. Does he have an emote where he cries about his wife being dead? Shut up, Dom. We all know your wife's dead. Anyway, all right.
That was a really heartbreaking scene.
Skip ahead a few minutes.
You want to talk about? You actually want to talk about it?
I just want to ask you one question.
All right.
You put the odds down. What do you think? What percentage chance is it that Marcus Phoenix makes it out of Gears of War 4 without dying?
25%.
25%.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 37%.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a full 25% that it could be.
A fake out?
Yeah, a fake out.
Okay.
That it could just end up being like that's like the whole crux of the first game, or even like the new trilogy, because they did state this is a new trilogy.
Sure.
Is that, because in the first game, part of Marcus's like a side story that didn't really come into head until the third game was that Marcus was looking for his father. So now the main protagonist is going to be looking for his father. Like I'm somewhat expecting them just to retread that for some fucking reason.
Please don't do that again. Please. It was, dude. I didn't even play all 3 of those. I mean, I
love Gears of War.
I played the third one mostly. I didn't play the second one. I played a little bit of the first one. I was mad when I finished 3. I'm like, you found your dad, and he's got like information about where the fucking locust came from, and then the game just doesn't address that and ends.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that was a little disappointing.
Who the fuck is the queen? Where did she come from? And I asked people, I'm like, who is that? There's this huge unanswered question about where the fuck what is this? And then the game's just like, yay! And I'm like, no. Rewind. Get asshole to I think he even asked the question at the end, but what about the Locust Queen? And they're just like, fuck it, game's over. All right, next up.
No, I agree. That was a bullshit.
I just wanted to know. I mean, they got me all invested, so I wanted to know. We're actually running a little bit over time here, so we're going to start speeding this up a little bit. This is bitching about Metallica for 10 minutes. There's a Star Wars Death Star DLC for Battlefront trailer.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up not because there's anything new or special or interesting here, but I just wanted to say briefly, goddamn, could EA make a good trailer?
DICE or
Blur. Maybe they're using Blur for this or whatever.
Some Blur. I don't know.
But this trailer is real. I mean, like, it's a lot of times you kick in the Star Wars music, you kick in that John Williams, and I'm just like, oh yeah. And in here, you got a bunch of stormtroopers, you got a bunch of things, you got Chewbacca and Busk and R2-D2 and trench runs, and woo, boy, looks good. I mean, I still don't think that the season. I think the season pass for this was way overpriced.
Yeah,
even to this day. But if you already got it, it's at least a little exciting to look at this trailer and see these different things. So. Let's see. We also have a very strange. This was listed online as it's on IGN's channel as Legend of Zelda cooking trailer, Breath of the Wild cooking trailer, which is weird because it doesn't have like an intro or music or the Nintendo logo or anything. I actually get the impression that I might just be watching 5 minutes of gameplay footage here.
Well, it felt like we were just this is all stuff that we saw at E3.
Yep. Link throws a bunch of garbage on the fire, and then he gets food back. The one thing I think that was really interesting was I liked the part where he cooks a bunch of peppers and makes a spicy dish.
Yeah.
And then when he's in a cold area and doesn't have the right gear for it, you can eat the spicy peppers and it warms you up.
Yeah.
That was the part that I liked.
Well, I didn't notice this during the E3 thing, and I actually thought it was very interesting when he throws the food in there. Like the food starts making like a popping noise, but it's making it to like a beat, like almost like it's a music jingle.
Yeah.
And then he starts humming along with it, which I thought was like, oh, that's cute and adorable. I love it. I love it. I can't wait for this game.
Me neither. But yeah, go watch it. It's pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and roll down the rest of the news. Super Mario Maker 3DS is not going to have any 3D support.
Okay. I'm surprised.
I don't know why. It seems like all you had to do, I mean, they've had previously on the 3DS, they've taken some old classics and basically pushed the back layer off a little bit to give you a little bit of a sense of 3D. I feel like that's all you had to do, and it shouldn't be that difficult to do on Super Mario Maker.
Yeah, I don't know.
Something
seems weird.
I would have liked something. With Nintendo, talking about Nintendo, there was a brief article, an interview with the CEO of Ubisoft, basically talking about the NX. It seems like more and more, the more that I read, that it's going to be. I feel like it's going to be, and tell me if what you've read, because I think you probably have read more than I have.
Probably.
It seems like it's going to be like a Wii U, except that the gamepad is actually going to be like a thing you can take with you, or that you're going to be able. It's like a 3DS that has a HDMI port that you can hook up to the TV, sync a controller to. That's going to be some combination of both a handheld and a console system at the same time.
Yes, and that it's not going to use discs. It's going to use cartridges, and by cartridges like 3DS cartridges.
Right.
But yeah, I've heard some things where the entire device is a handheld that looks like the Wii U pad that you can detach the sides off to make controllers.
Okay.
To make like Wii remote controllers.
Ew.
And then hook it up to an HD TV and then control it that way.
Okay.
And then I've also heard different things. Like I've heard various things. But I've heard that one of the big things is that the controllers detach. I don't know if they like reconnect to be like an actual controller, or if there's something else. But I've heard a thing where it's like it has a detachable controller.
It seems real gimmicky.
Yeah,
but
that it is a like you have a base station that's hooked up to a TV, and then like you can take it with you like a handheld,
right?
And then when you want to play it on your TV, you just plug it in, dock it into your docking station.
I would really, really like it if they basically had something that was like that was basically a cross between the 3DS and the Wii U, where it was like you can dock your 3DS into a thing that gives it more power for a full 1080p on the TV thing with a controller, and then you can totally pick that up. Like if you're going to be able to take all, this is just pure unbridled speculation on my part, but if you could take all the NX games were basically also 3DS games, right? So that you can basically take that unit, like you could play it on your TV, and then you could just be like, boop, I'm gonna pull the handheld part off and go and keep playing this game on the handheld, then come back and then
that's what they've been saying.
I think that would be I think that would be amazing as long as they do it right, as long as they support it and they don't do what they did with the Wii U and just kind of eventually let it all fucking go.
And the other reason people are also speculating that that is the case, I mean, other than the rumors and the things like that, and the patents that have been filed and things like that, is the fact that the head of the Pokemon company said that there will be a Pokemon game for the NX.
Oh yeah.
And then people ask, so is this like a Pokemon game, or is this like a Pokemon game that's like Snap or whatever? And he's like, well, we can't really talk about that yet because nothing's been announced, but we're making a Pokemon game for the...
I mean, considering the last, 3 years of Wii U and 3DS and how the 3DS has consistently had way better properties than the Wii U, if they basically had a console that was able to play... I mean, for fuck's sake, if they made a $200 base station that I could plug my 3DS into and play 3DS games on my TV, I would have bought that shit the day it came out.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Because I would love to be able to play Bravely Second and new Ace Attorney and that Dragon Quest remake that just came out, and all that stuff right on my TV, and it would be great because I don't live in Japan. I don't take the bus anywhere. I don't go on long plane rides. I don't have any need to touch my 3DS when I have all these screens all over my house that can play it at a higher resolution. So if it was some compromise between the two of those, using their expertise on handheld games, which I still think that Nintendo is the best when it comes to handheld video games.
Yeah.
plus the ability to do it on the TV. The only thing that really scares me about that is if that system isn't able to generate enough power. The one thing that I want Nintendo to be able to do, and I don't know, but the one thing I want Nintendo to be able to do more than anything else is have the same games that are on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One.
That's not going to happen.
You don't think so? They're going to keep it?
I think it's going to be. I think they're going to go more the route of you're going to get better 3DS games. Mm-hmm. You're going to get better handheld games.
So
you're going to get
tripling down on the 3DS.
I think you're going to get better of those. And those games will be of the quality of Wii U games or a little bit better.
Okay.
Like, because again, they did say that, the new Zelda game will be on the NX and it'll look just as good, if not better, on the NX kind of thing. So I think
it's got to have at least the power of a Wii U.
Yeah. So I think regardless of if it's a handheld or docked in or whatever they're saying, that it is going to be on par or better than a Wii U.
See, I mean, like that would have been perfect for me if I would have been able to say. Play Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and then just take the handheld and play Tokyo Mirage Sessions on the go.
Yeah.
I think that would have been incredible. All right, next up, we've got Resident Evil Vendetta trailer.
Yeah.
The trailers were done, but I was lying. Boy, this is supposed to take place in between Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 7?
Yes. It actually looks kind of scary. Like, it actually kind of scary. I mean, it looks like a horror movie.
Yeah.
Which, I like.
It's still Leon and Chris and
well, their movies Leon's been in all of the CGI movies that they've done.
There's one that had Chris and not Leon in it. I thought. This is only the third one that they've done, though, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. They're in a mansion. Could be the mansion. Don't know. I guess it was funny because after watching so much of the Resident Evil 7 stuff, seeing a bunch of paramilitary dudes with machine guns, I'm like, oh, right. This is what I actually don't like about Resident Evil as much anymore, as a kind of shooty pew pew. Special forces running around blasting on stuff.
I want to see it.
I mean, I'll still watch.
I actually like the CGI movies, so
yeah.
I mean, they weren't great, but I liked them.
I seem to remember the second one being completely ridiculous.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It looks okay. I don't know. We'll see. BattleNet is not going to be a thing anymore.
Nope.
Blizzard is rebranding BattleNet to something else, and I couldn't be happier because. I don't know. That shit just reminds me of the 90s. Like, make a different thing.
Yeah, it's now called Blizzard Tech.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's the new name of it. Blizzard Tech.
Cool. I don't really think that's going to mean all that much. It's mostly just a branding change, right?
Yeah, it's like nothing's changing. Everything still works the same way. The only thing that changed is the name. It's no longer called Battle.net. It's Blizzard Tech.
Okay. For all of you who are very, very upset about it, Titanfall 2 is going to have attrition mode.
Hey!
Which I don't know if you remember, that was just basically the main multiplayer mode from Titanfall, where it was the creeps and then 6-on-6.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit of a guy playing it with a sponsored stream coming off of EA, and he's basically like, they did a few tweaks on it. Like, it used to be that 300 was the limit, and they added that up to 400, and they changed a little bit of the scoring on shooting the individual things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for anybody who was all pissed off about that, be pissed off no longer.
Yeah, I think they also announced that there's like a 1v1 mode.
Oh, really?
Where like you can actually, it's just you and one other person, you and your Titan versus one other person and their Titan.
Mm-hmm. Kind of arena fighting.
Kind of in a smaller environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let's see. This is definitely all miscellaneous. Recore is supposed to be getting an update soon to alleviate some long load times.
Yep.
I think if it does, I might actually play it, but I'm not willing to wait 90 seconds for a game to load. Not even if that
and
game
also
is
to get around that bug that you and Amanda hit.
Bloodborne. Oh yeah, that was so stupid. Sonic Mania. Did you even know about Sonic Mania?
I did.
Okay.
It's a new Sonic game. It's
just they're just making a new 16-bit Sonic game.
Yeah. It's just kind of a new 16-bit Sonic game. Not like what was it? Sonic. What was it? Sonic 4?
Sonic Boom?
No, Sonic 4. The DLC, the digital.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like that where it's like, oh, it's 3D, but it's totally the original Sonic. It's like an actual sequel. No, this is more being done in the vein of old school Sonic. It looks fun.
I watched a gameplay video for it. I couldn't tell the difference between that and Sega Genesis Sonic.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look like it's really using all that much of a big difference.
It's not.
They have a nice little collector's edition, though. They had a cute little trailer for it that basically gets you, a statue of Sonic standing on top of Sega Genesis.
Here's a cool thing that they don't tell you in this trailer.
What's that?
Apparently, if you press the power button it's a console of Genesis with a Sonic standing on top of it. If you press the power button, it does the Sega.
Oh, good.
It has a sound bite in it.
Oh, good. It's also a little fake Genesis cartridge with an actual ring inside of it, and a code for the game. They've got a little commercial that's actually a parody of one of their commercials from back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I honestly think that after watching the epic shit show that is Sonic video games, if they just go back to making old school Sonic video games and they're good, that's probably better than any of this, like, oh, we're going to move Sonic into the third-person genre.
No, I think that's what they're trying to do. I think they're trying to go, you know what? People want old-school Sonic games. And I think the team that's making it, and I could be wrong here. I'm going off of memory.
Okay.
My memory is shit. It may have been a group, like a fan group that was trying to make a fan-made Sonic game, and that Sega just went to them and said, how would you guys like to make an actual Sonic game?
Oh, yeah.
And then they went, yes, and Sonic Mania is what came of it.
Oh, okay.
I could be entirely 100% wrong on that, though.
Hey, they give them one up on Nintendo. They Pokemon Uranium. I cut that. Pokemon Uranium shut down all development and updates today or this week. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems fine. As everybody knows, I'm not exactly the biggest Sonic fan in the world, but it does look more fun than most of the other shit that I've seen with the word Sonic on the front of it. So, bada bing, bada boom. And last but certainly not least, we got one trailer that I held back for Sniper Elite 4. Oh, man, John, I cannot wait for this.
Some butt sniping?
It looks so good. It looks real good. Like, it reminds me of Hitman, except with way more guns and sniping and nazies and,
X-ray fatalities.
Oh my God, they love it. They love it in this trailer so much. They love it in this trailer so much that there's a scene where the butt sniper's crawling up the side of a building and he stabs a guy in the leg and it shows his leg getting stabbed.
Yeah, it does the X-ray.
Just did the leg meat for no good reason.
So it's like now you get the X-ray if he stabs you with his knife, or if he shoots you, or if a bomb goes off, a shrapnel grenade, I guess, or whatever.
Yep.
So anytime a piece of object pierces the skin of another person.
Holy shit! I just noticed
3D or it's X-ray vision.
Okay, no, those are just regular sized balls. I thought his balls were way bigger.
Oh,
there's actually one part.
I appreciate that you wanted to pause the video to take a look at that man's balls.
I gotta check out his X-ray balls. I like this one. I like there's one part here where he literally does an up close kill and stabs a guy in the head, and it shows the knife going into the brain.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh man, I can't wait to play this. And as if all that wasn't enough, ladies and gentlemen, I know that he punched that guy in the intestines.
Yeah, kidney punch.
Punched him right in the goddamn lower intestines. Okay, you know what? I'm not a fan of pre-ordering. I say don't pre-order. Never pre-order. You should never pre-order a thing. Wait until the game is out. You don't want to get burned. You'll get burned eventually if you pre-order everything. I'm going to pre-order this game. I'm going to pre-order this game, John, because you can kill Hitler again in it if you do the pre-order. It's the pre-order bonus.
Yeah.
If every single game that came out, the pre-order bonus was if you pre-order it, you can kill Hitler in this game.
You get a whole separate campaign mission for it.
Oh man, Target Fuhrer.
Plus 7 camo rifle skins.
Yeah, whatever. I want to shoot Hitler in the face again. Something really satisfying about shooting Hitler in the face. So yeah, I'm going to pre-order this game just so that I can get the shooting Hitler in the face mission because, I mean, come on, how could you not? How could you not want to shoot Hitler in the face?
If I'm not mistaken, they're banking on the fact that people want to shoot Hitler in the face.
For America. I'm just saying, what are all the rest of the games? Gears of War 4, pre-order now. You can shoot the Hitler in the face. I do it. Forza 3, if you pre-order now, you can run over Hitler. I'd totally do it. Sonic Colors, turns out that if you pre-order, we'll replace Mr. Eggman with Hitler. Perfect. I'm in it. I'm doing it right now. Take all my money, all the companies. Dark Souls 3, new boss, Hitler. If you pre-order, that would be
There's your Dark Souls.
That's my idea. We got to get Miyazaki on the line. We got to tell him about my Hitler Dark Souls idea. Miyazaki will make millions of dollars. We'll just say if you pre-order it now, you can kill Hitler in so many ways.
Yes.
It's a big monster Hitler, and it transforms into a different monster Hitler. Anyway,
and this turns into some weird spinoff of Danger 5.
Yep.
Kill Hitler.
We're going to rename this podcast the Killin' Hitler. Welcome to KillHitlerSelect.com.
Where every week Jeff plays a game where he kills Hitler.
I never would have imagined that 2017 was the year that we could kill Hitler so much. I keep killing Hitler every week. Motherfucker keeps coming back to life. All right, folks. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to get your questions. Mail at RageSite.com is the email address, and we'll be back in just a minute. And we're back. Yep. Welcome back to Kill Hitler Select. And it's time for all of your questions about killing Hitler. Mail at RageSelect.com is the email address to send your questions into. But before we get to those, just briefly, actually, you know what? I think I talked enough about Rise of Iron. I think that all I really wanted to say about it, like I haven't really finished it. I've just been kind of dabbling in it. If you were the kind of person who has not played Destiny and is not interested in Destiny, I don't think that it's going to really hold a lot of appeal. But if you could find like on a sale, if you can find, I'm pretty sure that sometime around winter, sometime around December, you'll probably end up on the PlayStation Network or somewhere being able to get like the entire Destiny Complete Edition for $40 or something like that. Well, there's a fair amount of content in there if you're into it, but it's not a thing that I feel like anybody who's not a big fan of Destiny should rush out and get. Like, it's not game changing the way that Taken King was. It's just kind of more of that.
Yeah, and if you didn't jump on board then
yeah, I mean it's weird how they have a. If you, I think it might have only been if you pre-ordered it, they had a thing that basically lets you like up your character to a certain level. Actually, you know what? One thing I want to talk about real briefly before we get into there, I haven't looked at the comment section, but when we played it, I was a little bit below the recommended level for playing it, and I was just getting massacred when we played that on the dojo. And I'd just like to say that as soon as I got to the level that the game was like recommended level is this amount of light, and as soon as I got to that, it was fine from that point onward. I mean, it was a challenge. It wasn't too hard, but when I was below there, it was really difficult, and I was dying, and I was getting real frustrated. So, you know, I don't want that. I don't want it to seem like that was any indictment of the quality of the expansion. It was mostly just that I wasn't prepared enough. I didn't think that number was going to matter as much as it did. Having 5 less light than was required for that mission was going to matter as much as it did, but it did. Anyway, our first question this week comes in from Sean, and Sean says, "Hey, Jeff and John, I recently replayed BioShock 1 and 2. I think, oh, man, I could talk about the BioShock collection. Fuck. All right, I'll do that some other time. I think the second one is absolutely fantastic, and it brings up a point I've heard on this show and others before. Why does this game receive so much hate? Other than the lack of novelty the first game had with Rapture and the antagonist not having as strong a presence as Ryan, I felt BioShock 2 is just as good as 1 with a lot of major improvements and beautiful art design. Why do people jump on the bandwagon to dogpile and hate this game? Are there any other games you feel get a bad rap that are actually great / better than the original? I put Metroid Prime Echoes in that category. Rage on, you crazy masters of Dong, Sean. Sean, I just want to hold on. I just want to say briefly to Sean. Sean, great question. Just the right length. Didn't go crazy. There's not 6 paragraphs I have to read. You just, you laid out your case. You got to the point. Good question, Sean. Great job.
All right,
John.
I was going to say, to answer your question of people of games that people dogpile on that were actually like really good. Mm-hmm. I've said it before on this podcast. I've said it before in videos on this website.
Let me see.
I've said it.
The envelope up to my head, and okay, what do you got, John?
DMC, Devil May Cry.
Oh, the envelope says DMC, Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Hey.
And I think that people dogged on BioShock 2 for the same reason people dogged on DMC, but Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
It wasn't the original developers.
Sure.
It wasn't the original creator. Had nothing to do with it. It was they took something and they made something else. And so people were like, I don't want that. I want the original people that made it to make the sequel. You're not making the game that I want. You're making a game that I don't want. And some people played it and liked it. Some people were like, I don't want to be a Big Daddy. I want to just fight Big Daddies.
Sure.
Kind of thing. So I don't know.
I feel like you kind of hit the nail on the head. The one caveat, or the one thing that I will briefly put on it, is that BioShock 1 had the and BioShock Infinite in a lot of the same ways had the advantage of being a brand new thing you've never seen before. Where it's like, oh my god, I've really never played a game that was in a weird dystopian undersea. What do they call the Randian philosophy, whatever that is, all these different things that were really very new, very interesting, and put together in a really interesting way with this game. It had some plot twists and some good stuff to it. And that the thing about BioShock 2 was that you weren't going to get that sense of newness out of BioShock 2 because it was just kind of a you've already seen Rapture. So now you've got more Rapture, and it's definitely not the exact same thing. They have different areas. But I feel like part of the joy of those games, in BioShock and BioShock Infinite, is coming into this world for the first time and just being like, oh my god, like this is crazy, it's incredible, I've never seen anything like this before. And that in BioShock 2, you are revisiting a thing that you are already very familiar with, having spent 10 or 12 whatever hours wandering around BioShock 1. So I can understand that. The thing, I think that BioShock 2, though, might have been... I might have seen what I would call the beginning of some of our, for lack of a better word, kind of gamer entitlement of like, but that's not what I wanted syndrome of like, well, it's a perfectly fine game. Like, it's maybe not quite as good as the first one, but it's perfectly fine. Like, it's got a better combat system than the first one. It's got some interesting new stuff. It's added to the formula. Yes,
but they're like a multiplayer mode into that people are like, why the fuck does there need to be a multiplayer mode?
Yep. That was kind of, though, I feel like, I don't know, I don't feel like we're all the way out of it, but when BioShock 2 came out, everything had to have a multiplayer mode. Like, every game had to have multiplayer, even if there was no good reason for it to have multiplayer.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But I played the multiplayer BioShock 2. It was pretty good. It was during the actual war of Rapture.
It was one of those things where they actually had a story reason for the multiplayer. And
you would kind of, like, pick your citizen and then outfit him with a few different plasmids, and you couldn't switch it up on the fly. It was all right. I mean, the plasmids added a little bit of a difference to the way the multiplayer worked, and it was fine. But that's why I feel most people didn't like BioShock 2 is because it wasn't. I think that they wanted They wanted that new experience that original BioShock had, and I feel like Infinite was probably closer to what they were looking for because you start out, you don't know what's going on, and there's a sense of discovery. Whereas in BioShock 2, you already know a lot of what's going on. You know Andrew Ryan, you know about splicers and big daddies and little sisters and all that stuff. So none of that is new, which I felt like what might be a way to kind of look at that in a different light is if you've ever played the DLC Burial at Sea for BioShock Infinite, that takes place in Rapture during before everything had gone to shit. So that's an interesting way to look at Rapture. I think the BioShock 2 probably would have done better if it had been more about the fall of Rapture than it had been about going after the story of BioShock 1. Now, of course, if you did the fall of Rapture, then you would have had to have a lot more Andrew Ryan in there, and that might have made things a little weird. But I don't know, I'm totally on your side. Like I said in the thing, one of the only times I've ever written a question in that's been read on another podcast before, when I was just a 20-year-old and wasn't doing my own podcast, was I sent into the Giant Bomb basically like, because they kind of shat on it. They kind of shat on just the very idea of BioShock 2 of like, why do we even need this? This is just a cash grab. And I think that maybe looking at what cash grab means right now, Metal Gear Survival is or Survive, like it doesn't seem like as egregious of a thing as some of the other things that we've seen happen since then. But I don't know, I think BioShock 2 is fine. Also, I mean, this is a nice little intro to just say, if you've not ever played BioShock and you've got an Xbox One or a PS4, that BioShock collection is a hell of a deal.
Yeah, you get 3 games.
Mm-hmm. You get all 3 games. You get all the DLC for all of the games. So you get Burial at Sea. You also get Minerva's Den for BioShock 2. You get the challenge maps for both of those, which are kind of like... But if you've never played BioShock before, I think it's a great deal for $60 to get all 3 of those games.
Yeah, I will say, and this is an entirely different discussion. We don't have to go too much into it about BioShock, but there was an article on Polygon, like an opinion piece, talking about one of the biggest problems that person who wrote the article had with BioShock, with the original BioShock, specifically in regards to the little sisters.
Yeah.
Which was, that, you get the choice of I can harvest them or I can save them.
Right.
And the idea is that, well, if I harvest them, I get all the Atom, and I get like a ton of Atom for upgrades and stuff like that. But if I save them, I don't.
Yeah.
Or I get a little bit or something like that. But like there should be a thing where, if to choose the good way, the idea, you would think it would be like, oh, well, if I do this, like save them, which is what you want to do morally as a person.
Sure.
You want to save them, that should make the game harder. But it doesn't, because every time you save a certain number of
like
the three,
they
give you a gift that gives you all the Atom that you would have gotten had you just
I think you might end up with a little bit more if you just choose straight that route. But the other thing is they also give you plasmids that you don't normally get.
Yeah, and apparently that was something that like Levine had even said in an interview, that originally those little gifts weren't in the game, and it was supposed to make it harder, so that you as a player would want to
harvest them. Yeah,
thus becoming like the citizens of Rapture.
Sure.
And that it would make wanting to save them, but that the developers said that made the game too hard, and they didn't like that. So they're like, "No, you need to fix that." And so that was their workaround, was to do that. And I feel like it kind of undercuts what the message of what that system was supposed to do.
Sure, I can see that.
And I actually totally agreed with what that article was saying. And it's like that was actually one of my big problems with not liking the original BioShock.
Yeah, choice didn't really have as much of
it felt like it was like there is no choice. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Either way, you get the same ending. It's like, regardless, if you do it one way, you still get all the stuff that you get if you do it the other way.
Right. I do think you get a different ending if you save them.
You do.
There's two different endings, but it definitely does. Doesn't seem to make much of a difference.
Yeah.
Which. Yeah, I agree with you, especially for the fact that by the end of BioShock, I'm usually just buying shit that I'm not even using because I've got a loadout. Like I have a specific loadout for BioShock that I could totally do without getting that bonus Atom.
I will say I did kind of like the fact that it kind of felt like Levine was doing a commentary on that about choice not mattering in Infinite.
Okay,
with the twins.
Okay,
like where they kept asking you, like they'd flip a coin, they kept asking you what would it land,
right,
and then they would mark what you said it would land.
Yeah.
And then they would just move on, and like they kept doing it because basically kind of pointing out that really your choice doesn't matter.
No, it's funny because they have he's got the chalkboard, and it's got the marks on it, and then when they finish that, he turns around and it's got more marks on the back that are all down the back on the one side. Yeah. Oh man, I like to loot tests. All right, next up, this one comes in from Brockety Brock, who says, "Hey, Jeff and John, Brock back with another question. Looking back at the latest trailer of Resident Evil 7, it got me wondering what other games would benefit from," and it's just my speculation on my part. Resident Evil 7 is an aftermath tale of the events from previous games. Aftermath tales, whether it be full gaming experience from the living protagonist or an animated feature from the perspective of others. It'd be nice to see what Greece, since what we've seen of the E3 presentation of God of War, the world is seemingly intact, is like after the events of God of War 3, even though we left it with complete and utter chaos. Keep on raging, Brockety Brock. Oh, man. Yeah, those poor citizens of Greece. I think they're mostly dead, though, at the end, right?
Well, I mean, like all the gods are.
Flood, plagues, like there was like one area left and everything was dying. And so games where you'd like to see what happens after, you get to see an aftermath, either like video or
well, I mean, Assassin's Creed had that one animated movie with Ezio where it was like his, like what happened after the third Ezio story.
Brotherhood.
Which is,
is it Brotherhood? Or was that Revelations?
Like it shows kind of like which it's really just a story of him as an old man living out the last days of his life. Sure. Like it wasn't like anything amazing, or he had a wife, he had a kid.
Oh, they're all so boring. We're gonna suggest a bunch of games. They're all just really boring.
No, and it's just. But yeah, I'm just saying. Like there are instances where companies have done stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually really cool. Sometimes.
I'm trying to think of games that I would like to see it in that we don't already have.
Yeah.
Something for.
And then you also have that fan made, what is it, Inuichi, where it's like it's a little side scroller like web game where it's Luigi in the aftermath of Mario Brothers 1, and it's basically him talking about how terrible things are, basically Inui, in a state of Inui or Inui or whatever the fuck the word is,
right?
And it's basically just him with a pipe and just talking about the futility of life and how after they won, how everything is terrible and just. It's stupid.
Fair enough. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some of my favorites. I'd like to see. I'd really like to see. I know it kind of goes against it, but I'd like to see something that takes place way after Fallout, where people are actually like doing well and starting to rebuild society instead of just continuing to live like a bunch of garbage merchants. Because this seems to be a thing where nobody is ever like. The people in those games are not stupid, so eventually it seems like you get to a point where you're raising crops and making clothes and doing things and not just like everybody in Fallout seems to be just surviving, just scavenging and surviving and trying to get along, or they're cannibals or some other crazy bullshit. I'd like to see a big post-apocalyptic city, right? If you talk about Fallout going...
the closest we've gotten has been, what is it, Diamond City? The Fallout games?
Yeah, Diamond City. They're also, you could, the New Vegas or whatever.
Vegas, yeah.
But I'd like to see like an actual, honest-to-God, like, city, Those are like settlements. Like, even Diamond City is just in that one area. What are you talking about, like 400 people? You figure you get enough people together, you find a place that wasn't too terribly hit by radiation, you could start, tending livestock, growing crops, mining, creating like full new buildings, like getting people together. You could at least get into like some kind of medieval agrarian society, right? Like water wheels and, and then start actually building like a real society instead of just this horrible. I guess one of the things that pisses me off about post-apocalyptic games is like, you guys do know what soap is, right? Like, you're scavenging. You've got all your canned goods and whatever that you've scavenged from the previous society, but nobody managed to scavenge a thing of Tide or like, a bar of soap. You know why we wash our clothes and stay clean, right? It keeps us like safer from disease and stuff. Like, everything is just dirty all the time.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them clean the fuck up briefly.
Well, if it's like the Mad Max kind of post-apocalypse, water's a scarce thing. So like,
sure.
It's not a fact that they don't have soap. It's the fact that they don't have the water to use the soap.
Sure, I know. There are ways around this, though.
Yeah, okay.
Underground aquifers are not affected by nuclear explosion. You can use those.
That's what I'm saying. If you're going with it depends on what you're doing as a post-apocalyptic story.
Sure.
But it's going back on this, aftermath pieces. This is why I want sequels to certain games, because I want to know what happens next. Like, I want to know what is the aftermath of everything. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, one of my favorite Double Fine games, Brutal Legend. I want to know what happened after, at the end of that game. Like, I want to know where did Eddie Riggs go?
Yeah.
Where did, what else happened? What was going to be next? Where did these people, what happened to these characters? Stuff like that. So there's a lot.
It's funny because I was just thinking of my normal answers, right? I don't want any of all of the FromSoft games, all the Blood Soulsborne games. I don't. They already have either an answer or, like in the case of something like Bloodborne, I don't want to know. I don't want to know what happens after that. That would be. I'd prefer that it remains weird. And with all the Souls games, it's a cycle, so it doesn't matter. What happens at the end of the game is that you start a new game. That's like what actually happens. I'm trying to think of other story-based games. We go back to BioShock. I don't think I want to know that either. I'm trying to think. I think the problem is that my favorite games tend to wrap stuff up so well that I'm not still sitting around with any questions at the end.
Yeah.
Like, it's only games that have really disappointing endings that I might want more of, but usually I just want to change the ending more than I want to do anything else. I'm really trying to rack my brain here about... I think the problem is that most games that are really good have a beginning, a middle, and end, and games that aren't good, I don't care enough about to want to hear any more from them.
Well, it's like, There are games, like I said. I mean, there are games I would love to see more of, like more of about a specific character or more of about a specific area. Like I actually like the fact that with Resident Evil we do get this game that kind of does seem to be. I don't know what it is,
but I don't.
But even like the side movies, like we were talking about earlier, the trailer for the new CGI movie.
Right.
Like I like those CGI movies because they also inform you about the world that we're now in this game universe. It adds a little bit more to it. Like,
I guess I kind of like to know what happened with the big dumb planets at the end of Dead Space 3.
God damn it.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna move on. I don't have anything else. All right. This next one is pretty long. This is from Julio. Julio says, "Hey Jeff, and this week's super amazing, fantastic co-host John. I have 2 questions this week, if you don't mind. First is regarding Final Fantasy 15. Since the Uncovered event in March, I was hype as hell. I couldn't wait for the game to come out and blow my sock off." He only has 1 sock, apparently.
Wonder where that sock is.
I don't want to know about your other sock, Julio. But ever since the E3 horrible demo against the Titan, where the marketing manager couldn't even play the game right, and the Sony trailer with the dubstep soundtrack trying so hard to appeal to the hip gamer crowd, my hype level went all downhill from there. So to put in simple terms, 15 marketing in order to get me interested and hype on the game got me unexcited for the game as a whole, especially with the newest TGS trailer. I just couldn't give a shit anymore. That's weird because I actually really liked the latest TGS trailer. I feel even more certain with the new news. I guess it's supposed to be news coming out of TGS, hour-long walkthrough that they released, and more news that they are. Oh boy, sorry, Julio. I'm just gonna murder your question here. The game is being reworked to cater to fans of turn-based RPGs, even though this game is marketed to be fast action RPG. This game will be average, not bad, not good, just okay. And in this day and age, being okay is worse than being straight up bad. Sorry if I sound just like the biggest 15 hater, but I really do want this game to be good and succeed. But from everything they're showing me, I really think this game is going to implode from its rigorous development, the change of combat in order to appeal to old fans and casual gamers. So for the question, what do you predict of Final Fantasy 15 after its release? Do you think I'm just being a big drama queen and it's going to be good, or are you worried about this game and how it will compare to the great games this year or even great JRPGs? Really, really sorry for the long ranty question, so here's a little short fun one. If one of your characters from fiction can kill one of your most hated characters from fiction, which one would they be? My person would be Dante from Devil May Cry killing Seymour from Final Fantasy X. And thanks for answering my question, Julio.
I'm not going to correct you, and I'm not going to have you reread the whole thing, but you skipped an entire sentence.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Or you skipped an entire line.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
What did it say? I'm sorry.
You basically said it's change in combat, and it was actually change in director, the changes of its original story. Basically, you kind of skipped over.
I'm sorry. This is just.
What's funny is that your sentence sounded correct. Like the way you read it, it sounded like you didn't skip anything, but you did actually skip something.
I'm very sorry, Julio. In the future, could you please make different paragraphs? This is just one giant wall of text that in the middle I had to start putting my mouse over to make sure that I didn't do exactly what I did, which was skip a thing. So I'm sorry if I butchered the question a little bit. Okay, so first off, let me ask.
What was his first question?
What do you predict of Final Fantasy 15 after its release, and do you think I'm just being a big drama queen? Blah 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 blah.
Didn't we answer this already? Like last week, we said that Final Fantasy 15 is going to be an okay game. Like it's probably not going to blow their people's minds like some people are expecting.
Yes,
but that it'll be a good game.
I think it's worth reiterating, Julio and other people that are looking at Final Fantasy 15. Beware the self-hype, man. Like I know I said the same thing last week, but just beware, because the thing is that in a lot of ways people remember, especially when it comes to sequel games, they remember the previous games in the franchise, what they're looking at it with rose-colored glasses. They're remembering the first time that they played that game and how influential it was, especially if it was something that you played when you were younger, especially if it was that. And your expectations are just become unrealistic to the point where no game could ever meet them. Yeah. No game could meet your expectations. And I feel like that's kind of what you're talking about with this. First off, I don't remember a time when Final Fantasy... I've played the Final Fantasy 15 demo. I don't feel like the Final Fantasy 15 demo has anything even remotely related to turn-based combat. Like, it's all action, kind of moving back and forth with the main character.
Yeah.
Between, you map. Well,
there was it did between the two demos. It did feel like there was a big change in the combat.
Did it?
Yeah, because even you commented on it because one seemed more like action oriented, and then the other one was a little bit more different.
Okay, no, I remember that. It was more kind of like hold down a button instead of like using the different face buttons in like a combo way. Which honestly, I mean, okay. So here's one of the things, Julio. Final Fantasy 15 cannot afford to just court hardcore, die-hard Final Fantasy fans. This game has been in development for a decade, and it's so much money sunk into it. It cannot afford to just be like super complicated and difficult to play to the point where people, because you know what? I mean, like, I know people who don't play any games who played Final Fantasy VII. That's what Square wants, is they want to get back to that genre crossing thing where even people who don't play games normally play this game. And you can't get that if the game is super technical and complicated. So I feel like there's that you literally just can't do that. You can't have a game that's like super, super complex and then expect it to sell the way that they want this to sell.
Yeah.
Especially considering that we also know that Square Enix has gone completely berserk with the number of copies they expect to sell for a game to be, quoting fingers, a success, right?
Yeah.
We saw that happen with Tomb Raider. We saw it happen. What was the other one that was, the last Hitman game, Hitman Absolution, where they were like, total failure, and it sold like 2.5 million copies or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like, that's about what you would expect out of a game like that. And they were just like, nope. And
However, the new Hitman game is being episodic has been gangbusters for them. Total success.
I like it. But yeah, I mean, you remember there was when Tomb Raider, the first Tomb Raider remake came out, and the director stepped down and disgraced publicly because that game only sold like 8.5 million copies or something like that.
Yeah,
it didn't sell the 20 that they wanted it to.
Yeah,
and it was just
like it didn't matter how well it's like it actually made its money back and some.
Yeah.
But because it didn't make 22 million, it was considered a failure.
Yeah,
because that's what they had somehow projected in their head is that it was going to make 22 million. And I think it ended up making like around 12 or something like that. And like I think they made it for like it was the game was like 7 million or something like that. That's how much it cost them to like promote it and everything. And then it made like 12 or something like that. Like it made a little bit over what it cost to make it, and they were just like, well, it's a failure.
Yeah, total. Yeah. Actually, when you look at this, Square Enix has a problem with this. Like, you look at some of the stuff that's come out of the new Deus Ex game and how they're talking about rushing those microtransactions in like at the last second to make sure that they were on the storefront, even though the game doesn't support them. That it seems like there was the breach mode or whatever it was added in at the last second.
And then there was also that weird pre-order scheme that they did.
Oh, with like
that then they had to nixed at the last second.
Yeah,
and
Square is I feel like when you look at Square, what you're seeing is an old company that was very successful trying to figure out how to get with the times and not knowing how to do that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I don't think if you sound, Julio, like you're so up and down on this thing that you're so hyped up that there's not any way that this game can live up to what you want it to be. It's probably going to be fine. It's probably going to be better than fine, like we said last week.
I'm going to say this. Final Fantasy VII, good game, popular game, everyone loved it.
Sure.
Final Fantasy VIII was also...
I think it was a little bit more niche. That was where they started to lose people a little bit. But
9 was...
that was much more of like a throwback to the old school.
Yeah, that was a throwback. 10 was it was like 7, 8, and 10 were like the ones that I felt like people, like they weren't like... 8 and 10 weren't as good as 7, like in people's minds, in memories, or whatever. Whether they actually are or not is totally up for debate, and I'm not here to do that. I'm saying that as far as like mass media, like someone who doesn't play video games knowing that it exists,
right?
7, 8, and 10 were like kind of Square's big 3. I feel like, to me. Because 8 was mostly because of the popularity of 7. Everyone went, well, what's the next one? Oh, my God, we got to play the next one. Kind of thing. But I also remember a lot of people liking it. I don't think any other game since 10 has really captured that mass media like knowledge of people wanting to play it.
I think that,
and
go. I'm sorry.
And my point here is that 15 hasn't come out yet, and I feel like this is the closest they've come since 10 to reaching that anticipation level for people of people wanting to play the game.
Sure,
because I couldn't give two shits about the online MMO numbered games.
14
and 11.
Yeah,
I couldn't give two shits about those. I didn't care about 12.
Oh, 12.
I literally everything about 12 made me not want to play it.
Yeah.
Like I never played it because I just watched a trailer. I was like, nope, I don't want to play that game. It looks like shit. What is it? 13 and 13.2 or whatever the fuck it's called.
13.3.
Didn't fucking play that either because fucking didn't care. Nothing about that game made me go, I want to play that game.
The
15 made me want to play the game. Yeah. I don't expect it to be the greatest game ever. I don't expect it to be the greatest Final Fantasy game ever. I just expect it to be hopefully a good game.
I think that the a lot of what you're running into is that Final Fantasy VII represented a shift in the way those RPGs looked and were presented from a top-down 16-bit imagine your own story to a fully 3D acted kind of cinematic universe, right? You can't do that again.
Yeah,
you can't make that transition a second time.
No, you can't.
So there was a part of Final Fantasy VII's allure that just came down to that innovation that literally cannot be replicated. You cannot do it again. So what you're looking at now is story, world, immersion, ease of use. But I don't think that no matter, even if it's the best at all of those things, it's probably not. I mean, there's probably no way that it's going to be as well regarded as previous titles because it's not making a giant shift.
I honestly don't think it'll be as well regarded as 7. I do think it could be on the level of 10 though.
Okay.
Just based on what I like 10. I actually, for all its faults, I actually really like 10.
Oh, I do too. I give a lot of shit to Titus on the show, but I enjoy playing 10.
Waka's fucking badass. I don't fucking know. Anyways, but
Auron and Kamari, man, that's my jam. Stoic, fucking assholes.
Yeah, but no, I like 10. But I'm just saying it'll probably be up to that level of hype or success for them, which I think could be a good thing.
I think I honestly,
in the long run.
I mean, I honestly feel like it's just going to be. I think there are too many people who are just going to hate that game.
Oh no, I think there are going to be a ton of people that hate it no matter what.
I think it's just going to be. I think that there's going to be a huge amount of I mean, there's people right now who hate Final Fantasy. Doesn't matter what it is, and there's people who wanted this to be. When it was announced, what it was when it was announced, it was going to be a Kingdom Hearts action style game before it was reworked when it was Final Fantasy Versus 13 and Final Fantasy 15. That honestly will never let go of feeling betrayed that it's not an action game in the Final Fantasy 13 universe by the director of Kingdom Hearts, and is now its own thing that's been broken off into its own thing. I think that you're just going to have a huge number of people.
Oh no, you're totally going to have a huge number of people that are going to fucking hate on this game, and they actually have like so many different reasons for hating it.
Absolutely.
And some of them are justified, some of them are not. But having said that, I do think it's, this game, here's the thing. I could be totally wrong. From what I've seen, I think it's going to be an okay game. It could come out and be a total clusterfuck of a shit game because of all of the reasons that people are claiming, and even mentioned in this email about all the changes in directors, changes in the original story, changes in how the combat works, and changes in all these different things. It could just totally be a complete shit show. But I think it's going to be okay. I think it's going to be fine. I think it's going to be a good game. I think that the people who play it are going to enjoy it. The people who like it are going to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if they like it, they're going to enjoy it. But the people are going to play it. They're going to like it. Is it going to be the best Final Fantasy game ever in the history of anything?
Probably not.
Probably not. It could be, but probably not.
Yeah.
I would say it probably has like a 10% chance of being the best Final Fantasy game ever in the history of Final Fantasy. 10% chance, maybe less than that.
Maybe. I played those demos, man. Driving that car around in the fucking nursery room did not exactly fill me with super amounts of confidence.
Yeah, here's the thing. The first demo sold me on this game.
Yeah.
That second demo kind of pulled me back a little bit. With the first demo, I was like, this could be the greatest Final Fantasy game ever. This could be like this generation's Final Fantasy VII.
Sure.
This could be like Square finally has it in the bag. And the second demo happened, and I'm like, not so much. Could still be good though, but not so much anymore. With the greatest.
But if I could give you some advice, Julio, just calm down and try to get your expectations as tamped down as possible. It's so much more fun to think that a game's not going to be any good and then be pleasantly surprised than it is to think a game's going to be the greatest game of all time and be let down, because it's almost, statistically speaking, it is almost certainly not going to be that good. But yeah. I realize that's hard. All right, let's burn through some more of these questions. So it comes in from Ian, who says, "Hey Jeff and John, this question is a bit of setup. I recently made a connection between the game series Mass Effect and the Seven Samurai. Wondering if anyone else had a similar thought. I took to Google. As is often the case, someone else made the leap in logic first. However, on this thread, a decent amount of responses were asking people to not compare a video game to a masterpiece of cinema and referring to Mass Effect as, quote, action figures for grown-ups. This attitude is not something I've ever encountered before from siblings or coworkers who aren't as into games as me, or movie critics who seem to have never touched a controller. As a counter, the post was almost 5 years old at this point. I don't feel like I hear that particular line of thinking as much anymore. The question being, do you feel that the attitude of treating video games as a lesser medium is dissipating? Loyal patron, evangelist of Donglecles and Cocaine Princess, Ian. P.S. It was nice seeing you again at RTX meetups this year. Those mystery cocktails were pretty good. Hopefully next time I can meet Amanda John and Muse of Mayhem herself." So, that was some karaoke apocalypse during
RTX. No, I know. Yeah, that's why we didn't go.
So, I feel like it is. I feel like as time goes on.
Well, when the biggest proponent of it died, Mr. Roger Ebert.
I don't even think. No, I don't even feel that. I don't even feel that was it. I feel that I've grown up playing video games my entire life, and I'm now fucking 40 years old.
Yeah, no,
you couldn't say that previously. You couldn't say, you've had people that have been growing up with Nintendo and are now 40 years old.
Yeah,
so.
No, I mean, it's, in all honesty, as time moves on, video games as a medium wasn't always there with a lot of people who are in their 50s and 60s and up.
Sure.
Like, those people didn't have video games their entire life. We're now getting to the point that people who are reaching their 40s and maybe mid-40s.
I'd say, I go as high as 50s and 60s, depending on when they started playing.
Yeah, but now we're getting to the point where people are, there are people who are getting older who are the people in the industries, not just in movies, not just in TV, video games, and all that stuff, where it's very much, they don't, it's becoming acceptable because it's been there. It's always been there.
Sure.
I mean, I get why some of those people, like previously with the whole Roger Ebert, video games are not art. Stop saying they're art. Fuck you for thinking they're art. It's a terrible media. It's a whatever you want to call it. They're not on par with movies. They're not on par with anything. They're lesser medium.
Sure.
That every medium known to man has gone through that. Mm-hmm. Movies went through it at one point. TV went through it at one point.
Oh, comics went through it for
comics are technically still going through it.
50 years or more? I mean, yeah.
Every major medium you can think of has gone through that, where they're like, well, it's lesser because of this reason.
Yeah.
It's lesser because of, TV is a lesser medium than movies because it's on TV.
Sure.
It's not on a big screen like a movie. And now we're at a point where TV is seen just as important as a movie.
Oh, yeah. Call it, I guess I seem to remember around Breaking Bad first coming on the air, that was I guess people were really starting to put a lot more stock in.
I didn't say before TV. Then, but that's kind of
around that The Wire time. And stuff like that before that. But it's generally speaking, this goes back to a question that we answer a lot on here, and it goes back to the question of what is art. And as far as I'm concerned, it's whatever you think it is. You've got to be real careful with people who want to be the gatekeeper of, well, that's not art. Well, that's not art. You can't blah, blah, blah. Because there's nobody to make these rules. It's literally up to you. Like, is it art? It's probably, yes, it is art to somebody. So,
but it's, as far as his comparisons with Mass Effect and Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, in all honesty, a lot of stuff cribs on Seven Samurai.
Sure.
It's surprising how many movies, books, TV shows, whatever crib on Seven Samurai.
I hear that new Magnificent Seven movie does pretty hard. That's pretty hard.
Yeah,
right?
it's a remake of a movie that was a Western version of Seven Samurai.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's an easy. I mean, like
hell, Star Wars is technically also Seven Samurai.
Look, Look. Also, it should be noted the Seven Samurai didn't create this idea.
No.
Rounding up a bunch of people to protect a place from other people. Like, this was around before the movie The Seven Samurai.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's like that movie was very influential.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that while these may not be original ideas even for that movie, it was... A lot of places are citing that as their inspiration.
Sure,
a lot of people do.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie. It's a great story.
Absolutely, yeah, fucking fantastic. But just if you run into somebody who gets all pissy and shitty with you, I mean, like you can take mine. My thing is that, and I've said this before, and it's one of the reasons that to this day I'll go down swinging with somebody verbally about this. There has never been a medium in the history of mankind that has been an interactive form of entertainment the way that video games are now.
Yeah.
Every single form of artistic expression up until the invention of video games. I mean, okay, let's not be... Most of your mass-consumed versions of media entertainment up until the inception of video games are passive things. You read a book, you watch a movie, you listen to a song. That medium is going into you, and you don't affect the medium in any way. You experience the medium. You look at a painting.
It affects you.
Right.
But you don't affect it.
But you don't affect it. Video games are the first time, in my opinion, in the history of mankind that, as far as media goes, I know that there's things like interactive theater or stage plays or some stuff like that, but video games to me is the first time where on a massive scale, you are now in a simulation of a different thing, and your actions, you personally, the viewer's actions, have an effect on the world, and that is a thing that we have never, ever seen before in the history of all of mankind, outside of going out and doing stuff. And so, to me, that makes video games a medium that is literally revolutionary in a way that we have not seen probably since the invention of the written word. And I'm trying... It sounds really hyperbolic, but when you start to think about it, you start to think about like when you look at when you look at forms of entertainment, that even forms of expressing experience and knowledge and stories and things like that over the course of the years. Up until this point, almost all of them have been something is acting on the listener, and now we have a whole medium where your actions are integrated into the story, where you are not just a passive observer, but you are literally a participant in the story. And to me, that's incredible. That's just amazing.
And even to kind of build on what you're saying and even provide example for that, I mean, if you read a book and I read a book, that's the same book. The same story happened. Now, maybe the only difference is what's going on in our heads. Like, you may read, it's like, this guy said, hot damn. And I read it as like, this guy said, hot damn. And then you're in your head and it's like, this guy said, hot damn.
Or just the way the character that you imagine in your head is probably
that
different.
may be a little different, but we're still reading the exact same story. We're seeing the exact same events.
Yes.
We play a video game. Let's say it's a linear video game. Walk from point A to point B, going down a hallway.
Yep.
You walk it in a straight line. I walk it in zigzags.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's
a different experience.
And because of that, while we may be experiencing the same story of walking down that hallway, he's walking in a straight line down the hallway, whereas I chose to walk and look at every little thing and moving back and forth from both sides of the wall because I want to experience every little detail. And when we talk about it, I'm going to be like, oh man, did you see this part on this wall where there was this message written and it said this thing? It said hot damn, and you're like, whoa, there was no message in hot damn, was it? And then you go back and say, holy shit, there's totally a message that says hot damn on it. It's one of those things where because I did something different, I got a completely different experience out of it.
And it's created a form of collective enjoyment that I don't feel you've gotten out of things like book clubs or movie clubs or things like that in the past. When you look at just look at the way when people were playing through Fez and the entire Fez community was hammering on this game, trying to get through its secrets, trying to work together, or even like I said all the time, the Dark Souls community working out lore and speculation and the story and piecing this stuff together. I can tell you the only reason I'm able to play Kerbal Space Program is because I've watched other people figured this stuff out, and then I've gone through and I've learned stuff that I wouldn't have known by doing that. So I feel like video games are really important, and that anybody who just gets all just like hand wavy, dismissy, those are just action figures for adults, that they don't understand that. Yeah. And so fuck them. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
As they die off and the younger generations get older,
yes,
that will stop.
All right, this next one comes in from Katie J, who says, "Hello, sexy masters of Rage Select. I recently watched the Sam Kinison special that Netflix added. I used to really love Sam Kinison's stand-up. I watched it and realized that it has not aged well at all. Comedy makes fun of everything still, but the way he did it back then has just not aged well. Like Eddie Murphy's stand-up, not aging well, kind of bad. Jokes about cheating on women, gay people, and relationships as a whole just seem mean these days. So many comics touch the same subjects and make it funny. My question is, what stand-up comics, movies, and/or books do you know that have not aged well at all? We all know Meatballs is just sexual assault the movie, so there is that. With all the crotch punches and nose flicks, your loyal patron, Katie J." I feel like there's a lot of stuff that doesn't. I mean, it's the same way that, like in the 90s and you go back and look at some of the old cartoons that they made with super racist caricatures in the 1950s, and it was like that was just fine then, but now you look at it, you go, geez. So
there's stuff that's even like good, like that I feel like does age well, and
sure,
like it's good, but you look at it and go, oh, that would never you would never like. Blazing Saddles, for example.
Yeah.
That movie would never be made today.
Yeah.
Like that movie is impossible to be made right now because it would just never happen.
I've never seen Blazing Saddles.
It's really good.
Okay.
But it kind of pokes fun of that. Like it takes all of what was like at the time or even before then, all the like racist and bigoted and like just stuff that was taken as normal.
Yeah.
And kind of puts it into a weird context where it pokes fun of it at a time when stuff like that didn't get poked fun of.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's one of those things where there's also fart jokes, and also they rip off Bugs Bunny a few times, and things like that. But it's one of those movies where it's like there's no way that movie would get made today. Like it's impossible. And even Mel Brooks has been asked. He's like, "Oh no, that movie will never get made again." Like he was like, if I have one thing that I love about Blazing Saddles is that I never have to worry about some exec trying to make a remake of it, because it'll never happen. It is literally unmakeable in this time frame. Like that movie could only be made when it was made under the conditions that it was in.
Sure.
But
as far as this goes, just briefly, when you were saying that, it made me think about how, like, to me, the comics that have withstood the test of time, like, I feel like even when I was watching Sam Kinison and laughing at him when I was a kid, that there was still a part of me that knew that this was like, this is not a timeless joke. This is just kind of like weird rage humor. I don't know. It's been a while since I've watched Sam Kinison. I kind of still remember some of the stuff in my head from back when he was doing the thing, but I remember just that whole like, ow, 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 just screaming in the mic.
Yeah.
Kind of the same thing that just doesn't, like Gallagher doesn't, it was maybe funny at the time, but I don't think that if you went back
in Russia,
Gallagher,
Gallagher, Melon smashes Gallagher.
You get some Yakov Smirnoff in there, is not really, oh, I'm a crazy foreigner. You're just like,
Perfect Strangers. What's like?
I will not have you be perfect strangers on this show. Balky Bartakamus is a national treasure. And,
he is. He's totally. I love
Island of Meepos.
I love Balky.
I'm going to retire. No, there's a lot of stuff. I feel like it depends on whether you're crafting
Short Circuit with what's his name playing the
the Indian guy.
Yeah,
that's such a weird. Why do you have him in? Brown face? Is that what you call it? Like, why? Why did you just get it Indian? What was it about Fisher Stevens that made him like? It's like did he have a stand-up routine where he did an Indian guy and then somebody saw it? They were like, oh, we've got to bring him in. But he wasn't even. He wasn't wearing makeup, was he? He just was a white guy that talked like an Indian guy?
No, he was. He was wearing like a brown. Or he was just very, very tan.
Okay, because he was in the second one too.
Yeah.
Fucking goddamn Short Circuit. Yeah, it was funny. you just don't even think about these things as a kid, and then one day you go back and watch Short Circuit, you're just like, oh God, is that a white man pretending to be an Indian for no reason? It's like he doesn't have a lot of funny lines or anything. Like you could have literally just substituted any human being for him and it would have been fine. No, but I feel like there's stuff that is built on cleverness. There's humor that is written in a clever way, and then there's stuff that because it's really easy to make like fart jokes, right?
Yeah.
Fart jokes are funny. I fucking love fart jokes, but I don't feel like fart jokes. I don't feel like there's classic fart jokes out there that I need to go back and revisit. It's like, oh, there's a fart joke, haha, and then it's like, that's not going to make or break a movie. On the other hand, the biggest dickus in Life of Brian remains funny to this day.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Even though it's a really crude joke, it's still just. It's clever. It's clever the way that they put it into the whole Roman thing. And, well, there's a lot of Life of Brian or a lot of the Monty Python stuff that doesn't rely on any specific, that's just funny. That's just funny by itself. It doesn't rely on any specific social norms to be funny.
But no, there's a lot. There is a lot of stuff, a lot of, I'm trying to think of something that was just like something that I've recently watched that I went back and went, oof, this is not, this was not... just kind of like, man, this is some of the stuff that he was making fun of. It's like, that's not.
I think the problem that I have is that I don't go back and watch stuff all that much anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'll watch like Ghostbusters, which is fine. Oh, there's another perfect example. Is Airplane has a bunch of like racial jokes and sexual jokes and things like that. But I feel like it's fine. I feel like I could watch that movie today and not go. I mean, I don't know. Maybe people find the speaking jive part offensive, but I don't know. I feel like they kind of did the same thing in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels with the subtitles and the guy at the bar, right? When he was talking in the kind of Cockney slang. I'm trying to think of anything I've gone back and watched that's been unpleasant or problematic.
I would say the Jerky Boys, like
the Jerky Boys.
Yeah, I remember thinking they're hilarious as a kid, and then like listening to something from one of their older, and just being like, yeah, this is not that funny. Actually, it's kind of mean.
I seem to remember never thinking that Andrew Dice Clay was funny. He kind of had the same thing, right?
Hickory Dickory Dock.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything that really falls into that category.
Yeah.
And I just think that a lot of it is I've forgotten a lot of it because I probably have seen things that fall into that category, but I never watched them again, and so it was like, whatever, fucking whatever. For some reason, Johnny Mnemonic keeps trying to worm its way into my head, and I'm just like, well, there's nothing in there. That's just weird. It's just weird Keanu Reeves.
Dolph Lundgren popping up going, halt, sinners, and then getting hit by a bus.
Yep. Ice-T drops a bus on him, and then there's a dolphin.
Yeah, he gets hit by a bus a lot. Or trucks, vehicles, yeah.
Udo Kier is in that movie?
Yeah.
It's weird. Rick. Sorry, Katie, I can't come up with anything. If I think of anything, I'll put it in the comment section. Let's see. This next one comes in from Juan, who says, this is a short one. Hello, Jeff and John. Do you have a favorite rivalry? Could be anything real or fictitious. Your loyal fan and patron, Juan. Favorite rivalry, John?
It's probably wrestling related, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dean Malenko versus Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Rivalry in WCW back in the Cruiserweight division. It's actually the thing that got me into wrestling. Also, Ricky Steamboat versus Ric Flair. Another wrestling rivalry that I've always fucking loved. Put on some great matches. Yeah. Like, pretty much, when it comes to rivalries, it's going to end up being all wrestling, so for me. So
I'm going to say me versus Grant. That's my favorite rivalry of all time, is myself and Grant trying to wrestle control of all of the universe away from each other.
Okay.
Fighting for the immortal souls of all of our listeners.
Amanda versus Jeff playing Smash Brothers.
That was a pretty good rivalry. You got to pick any time where I'm playing a fighting game, and it's kind of like, oh, man. Yeah.
I just... there was just one in one of the, I want to say, live streams where you're playing Smash Brothers with Amanda and a bunch of other people, and it's like down to you and Amanda, and Amanda's like, hey Jeff. You're like, what? Hey Jeff, what? Get in my mouth. And then you're like, no.
I think that was the Sunday stream that we did when we had Kayla here for that. Yeah, where we started putting in all the AI opponents as well. Oh man. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other rivalries.
Because she likes playing as Kirby.
She does. I fucking hate Kirby. I hate Kirby so much. Me versus Kirby. That's my favorite.
Jeff versus Beer. It's the worst rivalry in history.
Yes, Jeff versus Beer.
Beer always wins.
Beer always wins. Why does Beer? I never managed to take out Beer. Actually, that's not true. Because
the only way to win that game, Jeff, is to not play.
We got a real war game situation. Yeah. Shall we play a game? I'm like,
no.
Jeff versus Beer. How about a nice game of chess? No, I want to play Jeff versus Beer. All right.
You lose. Good day, sir.
Yes. Danny writes in and says, hello, and hello. Danny, the bespectacled gamer here. I remember very well when the age of HD rolled in. It was amazing. My first game in HD was the first Uncharted, and I never looked back. Here we are in 2016, and they are pushing the new hotness known as 4K or Ultra HD, and I just don't care. Pardon my caps. I feel like old man Danny is taking over, but the quality just isn't so much better for me to really notice. Maybe it's my spectacles not keeping up with the times. Your thoughts? Have we pretty much peaked in image quality or getting diminishing returns, or do you think another actual leap in picture will happen in the next decade or two? Thanks for your time, chums. You've been bespectacled, Danny. I feel like we talked about this a little bit, but I mean, I've seen. Have you ever seen 4K gaming running?
No.
Okay.
Or if I have, I didn't know I was watching it. Like at a Best Buy or something.
It's good. The problem is, and I feel like we've talked about this a bunch of times in the past, the jump from SD to HD is dramatic and breathtaking. Like the first time that I saw a movie in HD, I was just like, oh my God, like this suddenly makes everything that came before look like garbage. I've seen stuff in 4K.
I've seen some shit.
in 4K, man. I saw Hitler get shot for and I don't feel like the 4K bump is really that dramatic. It's
I honestly think that from here on, there are probably improvements that can be done in that kind of video fidelity.
Yeah.
But they're going to be incremental. There's not going to be that jump that we had from standard definition to high definition. I don't think we're going to get that jump.
Well, also, I mean,
anytime soon.
If anybody remembers this, I mean, it was 4 or 5 years when they were selling HD TVs before there was, for one, they came down in price enough for people to be able to afford them.
Yeah.
And two, there was anything to actually put on them. Right?
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, shit. I didn't buy a PS3 because I didn't have an HD TV.
Yeah.
I was like, well, what's the fucking point?
Oh, when I got my PS3, I didn't have an HD TV. Yeah. I was actually just running it on an SD TV. And it was like, well, this looks a little better, but not, And I actually remember that I would hook up, I had an HDMI to DVI converter, and I would hook up, I believe it was this monitor, this 15-inch Stickmaster to my PS3 on a stool, 18 inches from my face, because it wasn't big enough for me to see across the room and play games on it. But I think that it's not... I think that if there's going to be an honest-to-God movement, it's going to have to be either something so dramatic that it takes your breath away. Like if you were to see... If when you looked at a 4K game, you looked at that and you were like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like that before in my life. That is a tech that I want to go spend thousands of dollars trying to...
You know replicate. What? I'll say what it is.
What's that?
What it would be, and I don't know how soon or... It would be the technology they use for 3D on the 3DS, for glassless technology, on TV in 4K.
Yeah.
Working... you move in it and suddenly it fucks up, but
right.
No matter where you're standing, it still looks 3D.
Yeah.
And is also in 4K at the same time. That is probably going to be the thing that would make you go, well, fuck me running. That's amazing.
No, because I mean that new 3DS is really impressive, and I personally put my money more on VR, because to me VR is so immersive of an experience that if it catches on in a good way, it really that represents a very dynamic sea change between sitting and staring at one square that's lit up and being fully immersed inside of a movie, video game, whatever
I agree.
it is. Because that's the feeling that I got the first time that I actually saw VR running, in my house, is the same way that I felt the first time I saw an HD TV.
Yeah.
So,
and I didn't bring up VR just because, and I agree with you. VR is probably the actual legit next thing, but I mean, I went with what I went with is because I'm thinking of if you're going not just for video games but also for movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like if we're looking at a TV.
Yeah.
Like, what's the next step a TV is going to go?
If a TV could do what the 3DS does, I would buy a new one in a heartbeat because it's really impressive technology.
Yeah.
I don't know if the screen's too big to actually make that work.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
Because you have to be able to divide between both eyes, and with a screen that small, you can do it because you have it so close to your face, whereas if you're looking across a room, I don't feel like it's going to be able to keep you in the right place.
I agree. So yeah, it's possible, but I'm just saying, like something like that, because I mean, the whole reason 3D TVs haven't taken off the way that people hope they would is because glasses.
Yeah.
People don't want glasses. They don't want 3D glasses. That's just the way it is. So.
All right, we got one last question coming in from our patron Ty, who says, "Hey, Jeff and John. I just recently beefed up my PC and I'm starting to play more games on it instead of consoles. I recently picked up Shadow Warrior on a Humble Bundle sale, and I am loving it. There are a ton of more obscure last-generation games that I haven't played, so my question is, could you recommend some more obscure, fun, and preferably shorter last-generation games that I might be able to find cheap for my new PC? Thank you, as always, for all the content and hours of laughs. Your loyal patron, Ty."
There's some good answers. I'm sure there's some good answers in there.
Well, here's the first thing, Ty, is don't buy anything now. Save your money until the end of
Steam sales.
Steam sale, yeah. Wait for the next Steam sale. It's probably going to be one around Thanksgiving. There'll probably be a Cyber Monday, Black Friday one.
Winter sale or whatever.
And then there'll probably be a winter sale after that, maybe. There might be a fall sale, and then there probably is going to be a winter sale. But anyway...
the fall sale usually leads into Black Friday, and then
right. So let's think. I already put it out there one time. I highly recommend Kerbal Space Program. It's a very technical game. It's a very in-depth game. It's not the sort of thing that you're just going to put in and Shadow Warrior your way through. But I feel like it's cheap and it's fairly good. Along with Shadow Warrior, I could tell you over the years some of the ones that have. Some of the games have kind of stolen my heart out of nowhere, and the two that always come up are Shadow of Mordor and Wolfenstein: The New Order.
Both I agree.
Excellent, not as well known. Or I don't know. Does everybody know about those now? Do we all make enough fuss?
Yeah, no. Those were both big word of mouth games.
Trying to think of some other stuff.
Older stuff, yeah, because he's asking for like last generation, like not like recent.
Let's just take a look at my Steam library here. You know what? If you haven't played the Witcher series, those are always good. Witcher 2, you can pick up. I'm trying to think of stuff that's shorter, though, because... tell me you've played Portal and Portal 2, Ty.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's go with PC games.
Yeah, what have been some games that have like really just kind of blown? Because there was a period where I built a new PC and then like I just kind of went crazy on Steam for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, kind of weird because I actually haven't touched my PC in like a month or 2 months. Which is just kind of weird to me. Actually, I would say longer than 2 months since I got my dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it's been a while. Like I just haven't messed with my computer at all.
So I'm looking at 2015 top-rated Metacritic PC games. Pillars of Eternity is pretty good. That's a longer one, though. Ori and the Blind Forest is definitely fun. That's one that's not going to take a huge amount of time. Let's see here. We're already down in the 80s? Wow. Fallout 4, Project Cars, Broforce.
Broforce is definitely a game that must be experienced.
Let's move it back to 2014. Let's see what 2014 top PC games looks like. Dark Souls 2. You already know everything about Dark Souls. Let's see. Diablo. Well, Titanfall. Talos Principle. BattleBlock Theater. BattleBlock Theater is great, if only for the very beginning.
Shovel Knight.
Yep. Oh man, Shovel Knight is good. Let's see.
God damn. You were looking. What were you looking at? 2015 previously?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like up there. I'm noticing it's like Tales of the Borderlands episode 1 was on this list for 2014. 2015 is like Tales of the Borderlands episode 5.
Yeah. Vanishing of Dark Souls 2. Nidhogg.
I still stand by the Ghostbusters video game though. It was really good. Alan Wake.
Yeah,
it's another good game you can get on PC for cheap.
Let's just take a look at what if we go to Steam, we should also be able to say top selling, global top sellers, Windows, release date, and then is there any way to get high user reviews, sort by user reviews. Why is Ty the Tasmanian Tiger above Portal 2 and Portal on this list? That's crazy. Hotline Miami, Binding of Isaac, South Park. I mean, these are some of the stuff that we always talk about on here. I feel like this list is weird. Like, how is that Valhalla Cyberpunk game that far up that list?
Yeah.
Borderlands, Outlast. Papers, Please. Papers, Please is good. Little Papers, Please.
Yeah.
Honestly, I would just wait until the Steam sale comes around.
Yeah, there's gonna be a
put aside $200 for the Steam sale and then just go nuts. You already know. You've already heard us talking about so many things. Then XCOM is good. I also don't know exactly what you have and haven't played, which is a problem, as I'm just probably recommending a bunch of stuff that you've already played. Slime Rancher. All right, well, with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Mail at ragesite.com is the email address that you can send your questions into. And
remember, from here on out,
it's
all about killing Hitler.
We're just got to kill Hitler. Got to kill Hitler, John. Let's go kill Hitler.